First of all, I like to say, and I is big gonna find me, because I want to be a part of this fucking dumb wannabe tennis tour.
You know, I think they got his testicles so far up their mouths that this is bullshit, you know?
I'm not thinking about that right now. I'm just thinking about having won the world title and hopefully trying to win another one someday. You just drop in and just smack the quarterback, drop down, snap, Well, I'll tell you, Stu, I did battle some humongous waves.
Oh, just a paper plane?
Oh, surf looks good, Alvin.
Not bad.
Ain't that swell with Jed and Vaughn.
Oh, those guys are back!
Get a haircut.
Yeah, shredheads, waxheads, kooks and barneys. Welcome to Ain't That Swell, the radio show dedicated to cutting fucking sick. I'm your host, the two-time Gold Cone Peace Award-winning surf journalist, Scum Valley's finest himself, the punch-drunk pikey, the sultan of psilocybin, the maestro of micro-dosing. Smiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiii Editor of Surfing World Magazine, Tracks Magazine, and Waves Magazine, Vaughn. Rinsed corn, deadly.
Hey.
Good to see you, Smiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiil Smiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiii This Gonny
How does
challenge.
he feel about that?
I'm balls deep in this Gonny Jannon.
Wow. That is a sobering image.
Oh, I know, it's awful.
Better than being balls deep in Goni Zubi Zaretta.
True that. Mate, I'm balls deep in this Johnny Gannon challenge. 8 weeks, 60 days of no booze, basically drilling your body into the fucking surface, into the core of the earth. Yeah, I've been watching people do it for years now, like maybe 3 to 5 years that I've had people directly sort of in my sphere just signing up to get out of the Christmas, that post-festive season sort of just annihilation of self. Because there's a lot of, fun to be had. I think you take your foot off the gas, you let yourself have a little bit of a breather. With that comes a lot of choices that kind of, get into you. They have a long-term negative effect on just how you're feeling day-to-day life. So got through January, got through the Burley Single Fin and the Rat Show and all those great things we were a part of, and just went, this is it, 2 months, going straight, mate. I'm getting square, Smiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiifีi This is day-to-day energy. This is just a straight up, and I'm only 10 days in, but my energy levels aren't dipping in the afternoon. Like, I'd get the 3 in the arvo and be fucked, mate. Like, even with the Wim Hof and stuff, I could get myself out of it and get into a little nice zone for an arvo surf or whatever. But, man, I get to sort of the end of the day and I'm just realising that I can just choose to take my foot off the gas and make a conscious decision to hit that space of feeling, okay, now I'm in my relaxed time, rather than feeling like, oh, I'm just making it to the end of the day, So, yeah, I'm loving it, man.
Oh, savvy, mate. A positive step. I encourage all Swellians to jump on board with getting balls deep in Goni Jannon and ripping right in. And, yeah, I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? I've heard it said by some biohacking expert that the rhythm of life is one where you toggle between high intensity and rest, and high intensity and rest. And that's basically the rhythm. So go hard for a bit, rest for a bit, go hard for a bit, rest for a bit. So, having a break, a siesta, a bit of a downtime at some point in the day, I actually think it's kind of essential.
So good, yeah.
Regardless of, there's no shame in that. Like, the only shame in it is some kind of capitalist productivity, Catholic working class guilt where you feel like you should be rinsing your lower back out 24/7, just sweating and digging and grinding.
I'm glad you brought that up. That is a full side effect of the system. Like, we've read that in Humankind, Utopia for Realists. These systems are designed to keep you on the grind and make you feel like shit emotionally.
You're never doing
if
enough.
You don't. Get off the wheel, man. Rest is resistance. That's what great saying I heard recently.
I love that saying.
Yeah, disconnect from the hamster wheel.
Mate, big time. We're talking about how we got to eradicate grind culture. It's so normalised. And one of the things I get when I go to doofs is like it's a total reset where you're just doing nothing for days other than like dancing, laughing, taking spirit molecule and consciousness and love enhancing molecules. And then you come back out of that world into the ordinary world and you're like, what's all this like? What are all these stress inputs?
Yeah.
Why do I have to grind all the time?
Yeah,
Why can't I just live
grind,
like
bruh.
that with my mates, happy, dancing and laughing? It's like we've normalized grind culture to such a degree that we don't even realize we're doing it anymore. And that's a fucking scary thing. And it takes surf trips and doofs and camping trips to reset and understand how many stress inputs there are in your life. Glad you brought up Johnny Gannon too. Recently awarded his black belt in jiu-jitsu.
Is he?
Well played, JG.
Whoa, mate, you
Wouldn't
thought
wanna
he could
grapple
fold
that
you
cunt,
into a
mate.
fucking
Holy
pretzel before.
shit.
Wow.
He's a fit, big unit and a walking embodiment of longevity and where you can be well into your 40s. Like the guy's as fit and strong as an ox. But I'm just starting out on this jiu-jitsu
I know,
path.
mate.
Vaughn.
I know. I got stuck into your Derek Riley convo, and towards the end there, where you two start really going deep on the jiu-jitsu, I was like, wow, this sounds radical, man.
Mate, well, it's got a long and storied history with surfing going all the way back to, Shane Hand and Robbie Page rocking up at the North Shore Oahu Jiu-Jitsu. Couple of white belts going, come at me, mokes! And getting absolutely pretzeled to fuck. One of the great Robbie Page stories. The balls and courage of those two units back in the day.
good,
A
mate.
couple of Southside icons. Yeah, I'll fucking rock up and have a grapple. I'll give it a crack. Gave it a crack, they did. 7 cracks to the vertebrae. As a white belt, Vaughn, it's interesting. It's been an interesting journey for me. You basically spend the whole first year lying there flat on the ground like a starfish as sweaty older men straddle and grunt and grind on you and sweat on you.
Sounds like the World Tour in the 90s.
Doesn't it? That feels a bit like it too. After a while, after about a year of getting sweated on and grinded on by bearded men, I thought, you know what? I've had enough of this. And I stood up. And I thought, it's time to stand up. And it turns out I go all right standing up. I go about as good as you'd expect of a guy who spent 17 years playing elite rugby league, rugby union, one of the toughest comps in the world.
Yep.
He's been in a dozen street fights. I went all right from that position. But it turns out, like, that's not really what's expected in the jiu-jitsu culture. As a white belt, you're not really meant to do that. You're kind of meant to stay down and cop your lickings, and you're often treated as a second-class citizen, and kicked in the head, elbowed in the head, and it's like quite a shameful place to exist in, the white belt. People don't want to talk to you. You kind of don't get a whole lot of respect.
You're basically an adult learner.
You're exactly well. It's exactly what I am in a literal sense. I am a mature age jiu-jitsu learner.
Yeah, you're paddling out and into the Snapper Rocks lineup on your sort of mid-length, soft top, fins in backwards, and everyone's just looking sideways at you, going, "Fucking cunt, good luck, cunt."
Totally.
Check you later.
It's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
But then the problem is when you start showing a bit of game and dominating and beating high belts, they start lashing out and freaking out.
Oh.
Anyway, the whole thing just got me thinking, like, this isn't right. Like, I might be a white belt, but there's no shame in that, Vaughn. We all have to start somewhere. In fact, it takes a lot of courage to be a mature age white belt, I believe. And I think us white belts, we've got to stick together. We need our own crew, just like, Craig Jones has got his B team, John Danaher, they've got the Death Squad, the Danaher Death Squad. That's at the pointy end of jiu-jitsu. But I think white belts need a crew as well. So I got thinking, what's a really tough and courageous creature? And I thought, the lion. The lion, Vaughn. And what do we call a group, a crew of lions? We call them a pride. So I thought, that's it. That's us. That's my crew. White Pride. If you want to join my crew, White Pride, that's the white belt crew. There's no shame in being a white belt. White Pride. White Pride. Say it with me, Vaughn. White Pride.
Oh, that is good, mate. I could see that taken off in the current climate, big time. Although it could come back to haunt you if the woke Olympics come back around. And let's
again, just more shame for the whites. What's wrong with
Classic.
identifying as everyone else is proud?
That is so funny.
Blue pride, purple pride, yellow pride, black pride. Plenty of black pride out there.
Yep.
Plenty of brown pride.
There is.
What about us white belts?
Yeah.
It's a disgrace.
That is funny. That's good, mate. I love that. Well played. I just wanted to bring up one other thing, though, Smiiiiiiiiivlical, in regards to the JG challenge, and that is that it's not about so much like having 2 months off to just fucking get like lots. There's this sort of like competitive element to it because everyone who does it, there's a big chirp on a chat line and all that sort of stuff. But I was talking to Johnny about it, and he's like, mate, it's just about giving yourself enough time to break those cycles. Break the cycles that you feel like are just impossible, that have a grip on you. He goes, 2 months, I guarantee it. Like, you'll be waking up after it's finished, and you'll just be, that will be the new normal. So you've got to break out of that to get back to, the old ways. So I really love that too, man. I thought that was a really healthy sort of like mindset to go into these things with, because I saw Wilco. And I know later on we've got this, chubby surfers who rip section coming up.
Yes, Wilco's been in the Dustin Dolan camp of wellness and longevity, hasn't he?
Yeah. He's had his ups and downs. But last year, this is what got me onto it. Last year, I saw him the day before he went in. The day before, we had a big lunch up at his restaurant, and he had ruddy cheeks and all the Christmas ham around his waist, and he was dead set looking that bloated and pretty torched. And I didn't bump him for the 2 months. Didn't see him. Just, he was doing his thing, I was doing my thing. And then I bumped into him on the day it finished. The day. Mate, his skin was clear. His eyes were just like shining bright. His rig was outrageous. He put in the hard yards. And it was completely inspiring, man. So, yeah, I just reckon a little shout out. If you're thinking about jumping on these things, go for it. There's another aspect to this too, Smiiiiiiiivlical, that I think we have spoken about on this potty, but my old boss, Doug Lees from Surfing World, he had this like family meeting where I think he was reading that book, the 10,000 Hours thing. And he got towards his 50th birthday and he was like, I want to be a master at something before I reach the end of my life. So him and his family sat down and they all picked one thing and they gave himself a 10-year gap. So he was like going, okay, I think his daughter might have been 14, son might have been 16, he was 50 and his wife sort of in that range. And they just committed to one thing. He wanted to be a master chess player. So he gave himself 10 years to become as good as he could get. And they're all still doing it, man. That was almost 10 years ago. So I'm going to check in with him. But fuck that. I thought that was a really cool sort of way to look at learning something new, like you were just talking about, getting on the White Pride program.
Yeah, that's it.
And just a cool idea. If you can latch onto it and commit to it, far out. What a life-changing thing that could be for you.
It's such an
From
elixir.
zero, though. From zero, man. Like nothing.
Yeah,
knowing nothing.
It's beautiful.
10 years from now, where could you be with the thing that you take an interest in?
Mate, it's such an elixir for eternal youth. They talk about the zone of proximal development. It's been shortened to the zone. He's in the zone. I've talked about this on the pod in the past. What that actually means is there's two lines in a graph. One is like emotional development and one's physical development. And where those two lines intersect is the zone of proximal development where you're growing physically and mentally. And you kind of want to stay in the zone your whole life. And the key to that is learning new things. And when I say physical growth, yeah, like you can be technically declining in terms of muscle strength and cardio and stuff. But if you're doing like yoga or qigong or like, there's various kind of low impact physical exercises that can still keep you in the zone. Like you're exercising cells and parts of your body that are compatible with the aging process. So stay in the zone, Swellians. And Johnny Gannon's 2 month or 60 days time frame is genius because apparently it takes 6 weeks for neuroplasticity to kick in.
Yeah.
So that's why you do feel like a new person. After 6 to 8 weeks, you have rewired your brain. The bad habits are gone. The new you exists.
Yeah.
You're physically, mentally, and maturity-wise, you're on a whole new path. It's mad.
Fuck, it's mad, mate.
Tap in.
Tap in,
Let's go.
Swellians.
Let's go.
Actually, just before that, Swellness. It's coming.
It's coming.
It's coming. Well, it's actually coming. We're doing the Swellness retreat again soon, and we're doing satellite sort of programs around that retreat that are going to feature all up and down the coast and right around Australia.
Yeah, and there's actually one that's in the works. It'll be coming up very shortly at Social Remedy, just here in Brunswick Heads. We're going to have breath work, meditation, some kind of functional movement, and some hot and cold therapy in there. Fucking ritzy, futuristic establishment there. Probably have a little podcast in the mix there too with, I don't know, just a different guest. It'll probably be like a once a month thing. So the Patreon guys are going to get, and girls are going to get first dibs on that.
Sweet.
And again, we'll have the golden ticket program for battlers who need it most. Get them down there, pump them full of O2 and whatnot. And, mate, because it's just time to stand up and fight back against the nonsense. And you do that by getting your own central nervous system in check first and perceiving the world clearly, which is you have to purge and cleanse and do daily work to actually have the compass set correctly. So that's mission number one. You can't start cleaning up the world till your own house is in order. We're going to get our own house, this temple, fully sorted out.
Finger bands just sitting in the room. They're sweet and sticky and absolutely delicious. Finger bands, feed your face in finger bands.
Finger buns, yeah, baby. Number 5, Smiiiiiiiiiivlical. It would be remiss of me to not shout out our Finger Buns support partner, Up. You know, the banking revolution. Financial revolution's got young Aussies backs. Mate, these guys have been with us for a year now, maybe even a bit longer, 1.5 years. They're so the real deal, man. Like, I know the guys who started it. They're fucking absolute legends. Their whole story is they just want young people to be in control of their finances and not just keep getting stitched by, you know, the other forces at play. They've set up the whole system so that you can sign up in 5 minutes. If you're not doing it, you're fucking tripping, man. Like,
You're
it's
just
so
pissing your money
good.
into the wind.
It takes 5 minutes. Like, how many hours do you reckon most people it's just scroll on their phones through social media and stuff? Like,
infinite.
fucking crazy. So 5 minutes to sign up. No fees overseas. If you've got, like, I don't know, say young Groms who are finishing school, or you're finishing school yourself, or you're going overseas, no fees overseas. Get on it. Up. Find it in our show notes. Big supporters, and good on you, lads.
Alby Layer's dropped a new clip, Rinse Corn, and we've always got time for what this guy's doing on a surfboard. It's called Pure, and it's a pretty fun fucking watch. Yeah, his punt game, man. It's unpredictable, it's innovative, and the board design he's running, he's always running some new school carbon fibre, epoxy, round nose craft, and just generating the most obscene rotations using that traditional Mawaiian trade wind and the ramps. You know, some of the funnest surfing to watch ever. Just got this backside corked full rotation indie air reverse thing, which is fucking tapped. He has a couple of near makes with that. Trying like kind of 540 or 720 alley-oops. Like, mate, it's just something about the way he approaches surfing. I don't know whether he's sitting there in Lotus for hours at a time, but he's envisioning new lines, new rotations, and really pushing the sport in a way that I can't really see anyone else in the surfing landscape doing it. Like, he's really tapped into that kind of almost like that motocross scene that's big in Hawaii, or like he's taken influences from other sports and really going high into the stratosphere. Like, he reminds me of, like, he's very space age. He's a mad futurist, dare I say it.
He is. It's mad, isn't it? Like, this guy surfs so good. Like, he ticks every box that every sort of hater on the WSL wants ticked. Like, he fully charges. He's got the most futuristic air game on point or alongside anyone. Like, you know, he's boning it out as hard as Noah does. He's got the rotations as good as Miola has them. And yet, he doesn't have that universal love from surf culture that, and even I don't want to say the industry, because I don't know if the industry ever really sort of exists in that the sort of like the one bubble that everyone thinks it does. But certainly, you know, like he's had pretty niche sponsors over these times, and he doesn't get invites to the fucking Eddie, and it's just weird shit, man. Like I don't understand what it is, and
I think he's opted out of the Eddie. I think
is that what it is?
Yeah, because it's the same swells that activate jaws.
You're right, and he's just committed
he's
to that.
made a clear line of communication.
Well, that's
there.
fine, but his whole sort of take over the years has been like I feel like it has been and put out there by himself. I think he'd admit this, but it's like, what the fuck do I have to do to get some fucking acknowledgement up in here? Like, and that attitude, I think, backfired a fair bit because he was super lippy. He was always sort of like chirping, like as if he wasn't getting his just desserts. Like that was kind of part of his attitude, right? So
it's a very Hawaiian attitude. Like the Hawaiian underground has this real chip on their shoulder. They're always like getting around in their gold chains and their caps and their fucking hats, kind of running this like staunch steez. It's like definitely a descendant from the Irons kind of shtick, the Wolfpack era. You know,
but in Australia, like the backfire on that sort of attitude is you just come, like, Australians just go, fucking, this cunt's whinging his guts out.
Get on a shovel and mix some fucking mud, cunt. Are you kidding me? Stop whinging.
Yeah, but I love where he's at right now, Smiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiii interview set up, and it's just classic Alby. Like, to me, he's doffing the cap to his old ways.
Yeah.
And how people, or at least how people interpreted his old ways, right? So he's set up, he's going, are we on? Okay. And he's like stretching his neck and he's fucking flexing, and everyone's going, oh, here we go. Oh, God, another fucking Alby. And he doesn't fucking say anything.
Oh,
it's genius.
Yeah.
I was going, yeah, baby. And, man, I'm telling you, it feels to me like he's at a point now where he's, like, locked in with what makes him happy, the surfing he wants to do. He doesn't need anyone to tell him that it's good or that he's not looking for validation outside of his own enjoyment and what he wants to do. And this clip's a good example of that, but there's no better example of that than what he did at Jaws this year. Like, his just daily posts about how he was approaching that Piahi season was some of the best surf content I've seen, like in a prolonged kind of, elapsed time frame ever. It was just fascinating, man. Like, how good were his updates where he'd come in, go, yep, body's good, board survived, like the swell's coming, I know the one I want to get, and it just had so much anticipation, and it just, this is just a cherry on top of that for me. Like, really cool clip, sick surfer. I love seeing him in this space. Like, he deserves to be in this space. He's that good, man. Like, he's fucking unbelievable.
He's unbelievable. And the edits that come out of that part of the world between Miola and him and Marzo, like, it is the most futuristic surfing imaginable because they're making the most out of what are pretty questionable waves, I would say. Like they look so hard to surf, dude. Yeah. For a punter, they look almost unsurfable.
I'd say they're totally unsurfable for punters.
These under the lip fucking side shore slabs with like these psycho ramps. I try to turn on one of them. There's no bowls to do a cutty.
Yeah.
It's just fucking like slabbing, windy, awkward air ramps and shit. And then you've got Jaws where, mate, like there's a ton of 20 to 30 foot slab cone, like rifling. They remind me of like rifles or some classic kind of Indo setup. But the crazy thing about the line he takes out there and the nature of those West Bowl ones, there's no real entry. The wave's already freighting down the line when they're getting into it. So it's like... it's kind of like a psycho knife where they're fully under it and they got to reposition under the hood and get the line, or it's a bit of an airdrop kind of scenario. It's like as harrowing as it gets, a howling offshore, a 9 to 10 foot board, and they're getting fucking cavernous cones.
Yeah.
It's remarkable.
That late entry into the pit off the bottom too is... I mean, we just posted that shot of Griff getting guillotined at backdoor. Times that by like at least 3 times in height and add another, I don't know how many kilowatts you want to put into it, but the power of that thing, and just always just dodging it, always coming up so that they can get that high line up into to the inside of the tube and come out because it's always a little pinchy. It doesn't just breathe and stay open.
Totally.
It's remarkable surfer, man. And
the lip line as well just has these big flaky chunks that are threatening to fucking break off. And I think it's just a matter of time before someone is literally decapitated and their head just spews out in front of the lip and their own head's just going, yeah! Look at it go, it's me in there! They had fucking B-grade horror movie blood spurting out of their carotid.
For sure. I have nothing but full admiration for his dedication to that line. He knows the exact line he wants. He's waiting for the wave to give it to him. My prediction is he'll probably ride the best wave ever surfed out there before his time in that sort of surf is done.
Yeah, it's an interesting wave, like what that wave will look like. It's probably going to be a mix of his traditional West Pole line and then the kind of Dorian one where it's the huge fucking North Peak that kind of does let you chip into a fucking mutant West Pole, or it's the Twiggy wave, the double up, the 40-foot double up with the super long period swell that kind of makes it just drain that much water. It's actually glued to the ledge like a traditional slab.
Someone's going to make the Twiggy barrel out there at some point. You know they are. And it's probably a race between, not a race, it's probably going to be Kai Lenny, Billy Kemper, or Alby Layer.
Good call. Vaughn Smiiiiiiiiiivlical, the other one, has launched his YouTube channel with the craziest compilation of African cones since the Durban poison strain hit the market.
Oh, it's a deadly strain, that
one. Mate, it's upended old Smiiiiiiiiiivlical more than a couple of times. Sent me into a psychosis, in fact, during the, what was that, 2010?
The Great Rave.
World Tour event, won by Smiiiiiiiiivlical himself. In kind of fucking sideshow devil wind horse shit, mate. I'll take the fucking drop of liquid lysergic in the Durban poison and lose me shit at the rave every day of the week. Rather watch that than a subpar J-Bay finale, but there's none of that in this clip, Vaughn. This is probably, in terms of wave quality, the best compilation of waves I've ever seen. I can't remember anything that tops this. It's from a year of filming. And it's only, as far as I can tell, in the southern half of Africa. So probably going as far as maybe Mozambique. But, mate, there's no one around. And we're talking roping, doubled up, double, triple section, 6 to 8 foot, flat bottom, filth orbs, filth nugs, like howling offshore, the most mutant but perfect right-hand pits, and a couple of kind of insane left A-frame TP things to open it up there in Cape Town. But, I mean, to put this in perspective, the J-Bay section, which is insane, and firing is probably the weakest section in the whole film. And they surf this doubled up drainer of doom at the end, this right point kind of thing. It's not really a right point as much as, like, we have setups like that here on the North Coast where it's kind of sand and rock, you know? You feel like there's like a rock shelf and then the sand piles up on top of it and you get the right angled swell with the right period and it just turns into like a half point break where you're getting double and triple section, like section-y, but like you're just coming through the hugest cones and then it triangles and goes again and it triangles and goes again. It's that kind of setup. And yeah, he is just fucking gorging, dude. It's amazing to see a surfer of that quality in the exact kind of waves that match his ability.
Such a good take, man.
He comes back from checking it and his eyes are like fucking dinner plates and his call, his description, his adjective is so perfectly capturing of the essence of why we do this. One word, intergalactic. And it fucking is, mate. And these waves are they're equal to anything that Solly and Caity got during that trip. Maybe not quite the length, but the thickness and consequence and roundness, fully comparable. Except that Jordy has like 1,000 of them across an entire year in various locations with no kind of round except for his fucking core Safa mates. It's nuts. And flagged Stab. So didn't put it on Stab, just put it on his YouTube. And I don't know who's handling the digital strategy there, but it's not the best fucking strategy because it's that hard to find.
Yeah.
I was Googling around for it to watch it a second time, and I appreciate what he's tried to do there, but they've kind of got to sort that out because it's coming up with all these teasers. It's coming up with the O'Neill channel. It's like, no, we want to go to Jordy's channel, which is only like 2,000 subscribers, but he's launching it. Life in a day in the life or a year in the life of Smiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiii
My overwhelming sense was one of refreshment, Smiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiii the forest straight in the old corners because I haven't felt this fucking pumped on. You nailed it. A surfer custom made for the conditions. Like the Waves are a huge star of this, but they don't swamp Jordy. Jordy is up for it and ripping, man. I don't think I've loved this guy as much since Stranger Than Fiction. Like, do you remember that section? It was I think it was a Kai Neville Taylor Steele film. It was pre-mod collectives where Kai kind of went out on his own, but Jordy went nuts in that, and I was like, whoa, that's what all the fuss is about. It was before he hit his straps. It was pre-Nike bidding war and all that stuff. And, man, I just was going, how refreshing is it? Ice bath refreshing.
Oh, yeah.
To see a big man just leaning in to big man turns on ocean power that is matching him.
Fully.
And I was baffled by how much I had forgotten what a natural freak this guy is. Like, he's got the Paco, like, connection. Like, it's all in the little stuff, man. That the little pumps in the tubes, like the sort of the way that his body moves across open ocean water on a big wall. Like, it's in that realm of surfer where you go, only 10 or so of these guys have ever existed. Like, Curran is one of them. Paco is one of them. Off the top of my head, I'd have to fucking actually dig deep beyond that. Mick is probably one of them in a slightly more aggressive way, but these guys their read is so sublime, Smiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiii And it was so good to not feel like like I was just a fantasy surf team fucking plebeian, just looking at Jordy Smith going, fuck, this cunt's like a folded. It's like he's like a fucking fitted sheet. I'm trying to fold him into a team, but I can't do it. You can't fold a fitted sheet. You can't do it. They say that you can do it, but you can't. And Smiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiii and he always disappoints, unfortunately. But this is the classic reminder of what a true surfer this guy is, man. I love this thing, Smiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiik. I'm really glad to be put back in my place when it comes to Jordy. It's one of those things where you've only seen him really in the prism of that world tour thing. And meanwhile, he's just paddling out and fucking schooling cunts left, right and centre with the best rail shamanism and tube nous that is fucking going on earth today. I would say this clip makes Jordy Smith like top 10 in the world, 4 to 10 foot, anywhere.
Totally.
At any time right now.
He's such a product of that coastline. Watching him in those kinds of conditions, you see the evolution of Jordy as a surfer.
Yeah.
You see why he surfs the way he does. He's so in sync. It's amazing to see someone so in sync with their local environment. I mean, and you see that John at Pipe, Nate Floz at Pipe, Seth Moniz at Pipe, or any kind of Polynesian slab for that matter. And Jordy's happy place is sand bottom, point breaks, and just really refined ruler edge, perfect cones. There's no one better in history in those kinds of conditions. The J-Bay section is remarkable. Like, just the control, despite the radical nature of his turns. Like, he's throwing the fucking kitchen sink at it. All those drop wallet tail slide hacks and huge arcs out of the top, but no bobbles, perfectly floating to the next section into the tube. My one critique is that, like, it does somewhat get a little bit repetitive, that brand of surfing. Like, there's only so much of it I can really watch. Like, I don't know what it is. It's definitely the board design for mine. Like, I'd love to see him mix it up with just a slightly more experimental craft, whether it's an ASIM, a twin fin, what are those, like, kind of 2+1 fin setups, like, you know, the thruster with the trailer in the middle. Just something different to add a bit of variation to his lines and the speed lines, the high lines, just, a bit of extra flair and, you know, take a leaf out of Mikey February's book maybe and just give us, you know, variety's the spice of life. And I wouldn't mind a bit of spicy Smiiiiiiiiiivlical.
Oh, I loved it. That's a 5 out of 5 cone pieces for me as far as an edit goes. So much love, man. Really enjoyed it. Go Smiiiiiiiiiivlical.
Yeah.
Fuck, let's just hope. J-Bay, Bells, let's hope these open water, like, rights really fire this year, because I'd love to see Smiiiiiiiiiivlical get a win on tour. He fucking is that good.
5 out of 5 gold cone pieces, thumb screwed with Durban poison for me too, but I wouldn't recommend it, to be honest. Be careful, Swellians. Well, there's a mad gang of tea leaves, that's thieves, doing over wax heads in Southern California. This is how it went down, or is, maybe even continuing to go down. I'm not sure, but the crime group, this is via Stab Magazine, a familiar menace along the Southern California coastline, goes by the name of the Bentley Driving Thieves, the BDTs. So they've basically been running their hustle like this. While the surfer preps to paddle out in the parking lot, henchman A watches them from a couple of 100 metres away via binoculars. He pays particular attention to where the surfer stashes their key after locking the car, passing that info on to henchman B, who's waiting somewhere nearby. Once henchman B knows where the key is stashed, they wait to hear from henchman C, located on the beach, that their target has paddled out into the water. Once that happens, henchman B swipes the hidden key, unlocks the car, and takes the surfer's phone and wallet. They then close the car and take the key with them so that when the surfer gets back in from the water, they're locked out with no means of communication, thus delaying their ability to call the cops, cancel cards, freeze accounts, etc. Meanwhile, henchman B has already delivered the goods to an extremely gifted hacker who manages to get into the surfer's phone and accounts, wiping entire online balances no matter the tech security in place. At the same time, henchman B takes the victim's physical credit cards and ID to a variety of high-end department stores to buy as much merch as he can before either hitting the credit limit or the accounts get frozen. Snapped creator Logan Doolan got done by this last year and ended up $150K in a hole after the thieves watched him pull up to river jetties, hide his keys in his beach house and paddle out for a quick 20-minute session. When he came back, his house was ransacked, his car keys gone, etc., etc., etc. And, apparently it's happened to a few other crew.
Fuck, what an enterprise, eh? I mean, I can't believe this hasn't been going on for years, Smiiiiiiiivlical. Like, everyone knows where surfers hide their keys. Everyone. You don't need the binoculars. You don't need henchman A and henchman B. All you got to do is whack it up under the you-know-where and find them in the suspension rims usually. But what a fucking bunch of cunts.
Yeah. And it's not just Southern California. California up here in Ballon has been in the throes of a similar crime spree.
Mate, the ones here are super gnarly at the moment. So Shane Stedman, inventor of the Ugg boot, Order of Australia recipient, all-round legend, got held up at knife point in bed in Crescent Head, had his keys stolen and fucking his car taken and incinerated by what police were calling like TikTok thieves. So that they're basically just filming themselves joyriding and burning up cars to get numbers in these weird sort of like online fucking flex groups or something.
Yeah.
And like they're doing it like with weapons and holding up people in their houses while they're there, Smiiiiiiiiiivlical.
There's been heaps in Byron.
Yeah,
heaps
there's been heaps in Byron
Apparently
as
there was
well,
like
yeah.
a dozen in one night. They go on these crazy sprees. And it's interesting, man, because I feel like I've watched the rise of this and I've reported on the rise of this. Like going way back to 2011, I come up here investigating these kind of youth gangs, these like bikie feeder clubs, right? And it's interesting because the bikie feeder clubs, we thought they were such a negative at the time, and we thought bikie gangs were such a negative. But after chatting to Simo from the Clink, a former Rebels sergeant at arms, I think he might have been a commentary before that. A guy who's done like 6 or 10 years in prison for drug importation, and he's turned his life around. He's a fucking legend. Love Simo. He'll be probably turning out at some of these social remedy wellness events. But he made a really good point about bikies were at the top of the food chain in the underworld, and they were involved in more commercial quantities of trafficking and higher level crimes, and they posed a real physical threat to these lower down grommets who are doing the hoodlum, the shit go as they call it, the petty thievery.
Yeah, right.
And where cops and citizens are unable to touch these kids because, they haven't committed a crime, you can get them in the act and give them a hiding. And even that can be dodgy because if you overstep the boundaries, you end up like Clint Kimmins.
Yeah.
And he ended up going to jail for attacking a convicted criminal in an act of, self-defense, but he went one step too far, stabbed him in the back, and that's considered like an overreach of what you're allowed to do. So it's dicey criminal territory. But for bikies, they get word, concerned citizens from the area like, hey, these fucking kids are running amok, and they'll just cruise around and they'll go to the dude's house, or they'll just find the grommet and go, mate, you're fucking up with the food chain here.
Yeah.
And you're going to stop, or we're going to bring you in the clubhouse and like really sort you out, or you can potentially, stop playing up and we'll give you a gig with us if you want camaraderie and culture and a bit of meaning and purpose in your life. And let's be real, like drug trafficking, it's a fucking victimless crime because every cunt in this country is getting on it every weekend. And if you don't think that, you're just fucking naive and ignorant and oblivious. And drug decriminalisation is the way forward, really. So I'm not like saying that organised crime's a good thing. They commit a lot of crimes and stuff and crimes of violence. But at the end of the day, I prefer gangsters beating each other than Shane Steadman getting robbed at knife point.
Yeah, Shane's okay, by the way, and no Ugg boots taken in that robbery.
Good. As long as his Ugg boot stockpiles intact. But I'll just add to this too, Vaughan, that, I grew up with the likes of Spanian, Anthony, who was and is the kind of the totem, the spirit animal of this entire movement of like youth thievery, TikTok shit. This is how I kind of see it. Like Anthony's turned a corner. He did 17 years in jail, and he's now on the other side of that. But he, in some ways, glamorizes his culture, and I don't hate him for that because he is what he is, and he's a product of a system. The system of capitalism created Anthony, and it created me to a lesser extent. Where as a kid growing up in the city who's poor, when gentrification kicks in and when the system repeatedly tells you that you're a piece of shit and you got no rights and we're going to come in and buy the house from over the top of your head, we're going to pull the rug out, we're going to fuck you off, you can live here or live there, we're going to tell you where to live, we're going to destroy your community, we're going to humiliate you and embarrass you. At a certain point in life, you go, oh yeah, sweet, well, I'm going to fucking fight back against this system with the only means that you have at your disposal at that point. So for me, that was like, I had a passable level of like, boxing and like fucking grappling. So like as a youth, I would be like, oh yeah, these rich people, they're coming in to take our neighborhood from us and they're just booting us all out. Well, we're not going to give them the waves. That's the one thing we can control, and I would control that. And I see the same thing happening in Hawaii. I see the same thing happening in Indonesia in parts. It's the same thing. Like people come in, they try to take their land. It's the same thing happening in Gaza. Try and take people's land. You leave them with no real recourse. and you're going to get bad outcomes. And these kids that are doing this TikTok shit, this is the side effect of years, decades of growing inequality in this country, and thinking that we can just ship these kids and these families out of sight, out of mind from areas of prosperity to the boondocks of West Tweed, Lismore, Grafton, fucking Southwest Brizzy, and just go, yeah, fuck, they're gone. See, fuck them off. Won't have to worry about them. Well, it turns out a 1 hour or 2 hour joyride down the highway full of fried rice is fuck all for these grommets. And I guarantee you these kids are ripping down across the border from Brizzy, from the Tweed, from Lismore, from Grafton, from Kempsey, wherever, and just doing over houses and filming themselves. And because, like, we haven't provided a future, we haven't provided prosperity, we haven't provided mentors, we've just fucking shipped them off to Mount Druitt. And I watched this unfold. This was happening when I was a grommet during my generation. I lived through this. It literally happened to me and my mum. Like, we got fucking booted from our hometown, Bondi. I had no say in it. And before we left a fucking trail of destruction. And Spanian and his crew are like exactly the same. Like, it's called nihilism, where you just stop giving a fuck because the system hates you. Well, you're going to hate it right back. And that's where we found ourselves. And I guarantee Southern California, exactly the same scenario. I've been there. It's fucking gated communities. The rich live on the beach. The poor can, the poor get the picture. And this is the karma of inequality. You can't protect yourself. Look at South Africa, mate. Look at Brazil. Like, these rich people think they can live in gated communities with SWAT teams to protect them. Well, you still got to go get the milk and bread occasionally and leave your little community and pull up at a red light in the middle of the night, and out they come, the fucking zombies sniffing brake fluid with machine guns and knives. And it's no way to live, mate. We can't live like that.
Nah.
And the way out is not to further criminalise these grommets, although, fuck, you kind of want to see them put away. But our system doesn't even do that. If you're a juvenile, you're in and out. It's a revolving door. There's no real disincentive. So the long game is to go into these communities with people that they respect and admire. I think martial arts and mixed martial arts is a great way out. And also, start to attack these social ills, absent parents, these housing commission ghettos and clumps that are just full. They're just dens of inequity and social illness. We got to sort that shit out, man. We cannot go further down this path like the fucking neoliberals and the neocons want us to.
Yeah, and you got to watch out when you change the ecosystem, man. Without any sort of like repercussions that are just coming from the natural world that those guys inhabit. Look what happened, in Alaska. They fucking culled all the wolves, and the fucking deer went so loony. Like, all the fauna got the flora got completely destroyed, and the only way they could balance the ecosystem back to a place of health was to reintroduce the wolves, and they did that, and now everything's thriving. That's kind of the analogy that you're making.
Don't take out the lone wolves. Leave the lone wolves in action.
And plus, you can't get a decent bag of speed in Byron anymore now that the bikies are gone. There's nothing.
Luke Skywalker, a.k.a. Luke Godfrey, takes us inside the raw core underground of Hawaiian surfing with a filthy orb fest. It's called Fear the Machine.
Yeah.
And, mate, I'm really stoked to shed some light on this because there's not that many edits that come out anymore that really speak to my upbringing as a surfer, which was one where, we really considered ourselves like underground. Like, the culture was underground. The music, the art, the anti-heroes, like every part of it was kind of so deeply on the fringe of like, at that time it was like, Morning of the Earth was fringe, and that was like 70s fringe, and like the Dick Cool films and Freerider and all that. But in the 90s and 2000s, it become quite urban influence. So you had hip hop, trip hop, rave, reggae, all of this stuff, and this really taps into that. It really made me feel like connected to my surfing youth, and I loved it for that. And the Hawaiians, man, they are unapologetic in lionizing and worshipping this culture. And, you know, it's that kind of ratty, scrappy Hawaiian underground surf scene. It's like a stonery, acidy, boozed up, brawler, semi-poverty stricken scene of semi-sponsored core lords who absolutely pack it like fucking maniacs. And it's the steez they do very well, but it's also semi-fucking torturous in the same way I was semi-fucking torturous as a grommet, where, you know, I cop these kids now, generally in Indo, also in Hawaii this time last year. And fuck, I'll get to the run-in we had with Skywalker, all my mates did. But, yeah, you often just end up with these kind of 65-kilogram fucking emaciated grommets in gold chains and baseball caps thinking they're hard, paddling rings around you at some iconic wave.
Little Manchesterian football hooligans who just fucking are just that street sort of infused and they just walking around just ready to fucking go.
Totally. And they're kind of, I guess maybe they've grown up getting bullied by big islanders in their primary and high schools, and they think they're super hard and whatever, and like they're not, because unless you're like fucking... unless you're like a featherweight lightning hands, generally you're just not really threatening the scorekeeper at that weight. But yeah, like as disrespectful and entitled and annoying as that is to be around as you get older, like I still really enjoy the culture and the music and the surfing. And mate, the right at the start of this film, fucking hell, what the fuck? Like, what is that joint? There's no one out, and it is every bit as round and consequential as Backdoor. And Skywalker is just knifing under the ledge and double hand dragging and weaving through double, triple sections. Ah, man, it is a clinic in waves of Mortal Consequence with a romping hip-hop track, and then it's got the romping fucking new school kind of reggae hip-hop infusion with the local groms packing it a pipe, and kind of ticked every box for me. Yeah, I was frothing, but just a quick, mate.
Please do. I want to hear this.
Yeah, we had a bit of a run-in, so... I won't name too many names, but my good mate who I went to Hawaii with on this trip, we were surfing pipe and backdoor on a solid day. It was probably in the 4 to 8 foot range, and my mate had a board jabbed in the sand there, and he's seen Godfrey making off with it. You know, it's stabbed in the sand right in front of pipe and backdoor, and he's screaming at him from the lineup. And he's fucking had to like sprint. Like other people were like, "What the hell?" And like kind of helping him yell, and he's had to sprint paddle in. And he reaches him. He's like already off the beach. He reaches him as he's putting the board in the back of his truck.
What?
And has to be like, mate, what the fuck are you doing? Like, and I think he had a rock in his hand. My mate did, going like, I think he's gonna have to fight this guy to his board back. And I've heard some questionable shit he's been doing in some of the Indo kind of locations I frequent, just fade and crew mercilessly.
Wow.
And of course, when that's how you're moving through life and you're surfing waves of consequence, I was having this chat to my mate Bongie this morning, like, if they're the decisions you're making in your everyday life, when the moment of truth arises, the chances are you're going to make the wrong decision. And I think that's just what's happened to him. A couple of days ago, he's broken his back, and I understand that he has been, he's in a bad way now. Like, he's been posting on Instagram looking for good spinal surgeons.
Yeah.
So it's a cautionary tale, man, that lifestyle of being a scrappy, fucking punchy, fucking like arrogant kind of dude. Like, I get it. I was that, and it nearly killed me too. And at a certain point, you really have to opt out of that lifestyle and take a more spiritual path. It doesn't mean you got to be a fucking dog cunt and put up with shit from peasant grommets at waves that you love and have them paddle around you. Like, you can learn martial arts and fucking put it on those cunts and demand respect. That's fine in my book. But going out of your way to cause dramas, no good. And the universe will fucking own you for that.
Yeah, man. Well, the amount of stress that you're living with when you make those sorts of choices, like you're constantly looking over your shoulder. You're always like at a heightened level. Like your cortisol's just on the pump. Like, it's pumping. Like, as much as the waves are in that clip. That spinal injury is really severe. that one he's got. It was called like an acute L1 burst compression.
Oh my
Like,
God.
it's really bad. They've got like I think GoFundMe's or some sort of fundraising thing going on. Lucas Godfrey, if you want to check it out. But yeah, long road to recovery, and probably a lot of soul searching when you're just fucking lying on your back and you can't do the things you love, man.
Man, and another one bites the dust at Pipeline. It's owned all of them, man. Leo, Fear of Andy, broken back. John, broken back.
Yeah.
You know, Jamie O'Brien, broken both legs.
Ross Clark-Jones has been knocked unconscious out there. He got compressed. I think, was it Lee Winkler or Kobe? I think Lee Winkler got knocked out and Kobe swam out and saved his life.
I think it was Heath Walker, actually.
Oh, Heath Walker as well.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Many of them have come undone on that chunk of reef.
Yeah, Jerry Lopez famously coited by the nose of his own board, cruised him out of a colostomy bag thereafter. Yo.
The great Jerry Lopez had a colostomy bag.
I believe so.
Oh.
It's wild. All the fucking lotus positions, downward dogs, and whatnot in the world are not going to protect a perineum from exploding in aperture when your 7'6" red lightning bolt Smiiiiiiiiiivlical comes for the coit.
Yeah, I when I first went to, second time I went to Baliana, I was about 18 with Alfie and Ronnie and all the crew, and we stayed up there at this guy's place called Aussie Bob, and he looked a bit like Santa Claus, and he just sit out all day just drinking piss and just patting his colostomy bag like Dr. Evil pats his bald cat. He'd just be sitting there patting it, just this bag of shit hanging off his belly. I was like, ah!
Are you
At the fucking restaurant we had to sit and eat, mate. I was like,
Lord.
dude, please.
Have they got some kind of cup or maybe a little like hardened ping pong ball or something we can put in the coit to protect from a thorough coiting?
I don't know.
Some kind of like strap.
We need to get onto TVC about this.
A polyurethane jock strap just with something on the back there to protect the coiting.
Mate, yeah. But
getting corned. I mean, we need some protection. I know that Kegel squats, Kegel stretches, there's various perineum strengthening exercises that you can do to kind of insulate yourself.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, even just bridges, mate. That really works the corn over if you just dry hump in the air for half an hour every morning.
Maybe even like kind of legs over your head, just get someone to just start ripping off a couple of flurries.
That'd be unbelievable.
Punch the coit. We got to do something.
I think the white pride movement could actually start that, a little bit of corn tenderizing that then just build up the muscle fibers so it's just a thick knot, a thick balloon knot incapable of penetration or beating.
Just a purple scar-tissued baboon-style flexion on the corn.
That's how we'll spot you and the crew walking down the beach with just these purple baboon asses that have just been driven.
Mate, you'll never have to worry about someone going balls deep in your goonie Smiiiiiiiiiivlical after that. They won't be out. You go to prison and sleep like an absolute child. Born.
Nothing's getting in there, mate.
Nothing's getting in there.
Not the head of a needle.
Hard. Blouse, Vaughn.
Blouse.
Now, this is sick, man. Again, an offbeat, trip-hop, stonercore opus of a surf film made by Caity Simmsie and our crew of I don't really recall ever coming out of women's surfing, and I feel like maybe there is a kind of cultural awakening afoot in women's professional surfing, Vaughn, of an acid core, post-punk, cosmic, countercultural persuasion, and I, for one, bow down to our new cultural purveyors. Well played, Simmersie-Brah. Well played.
Well played.
Indeed, a real belter of an edit in the vein of 156 Tricks, Searching for Tom Curran, a Dane Reynolds, Kai Neville, Volcom, early 2000s kind of thing. And yeah, look, I know you're not meant to do this, but Caity Simmsie is basically at the level of where men's pro surfing was in the late 90s, early 2000s. Which, as I said at the top of the program, also happens to be my favourite era of professional surfing, and the last time pro surfing was in any way relevant to me. So, like, she stomps the biggest, cleanest, boned-out frontside grab in this thing. That's like my dream manoeuvre. If, in some weird twist of fate, I get the opportunity to hit a ramp and stomp a turn like that, I will die a happy man form. This is a sick edit. There's some mental cone slabs. There's just fun, playful, rippable surfing. I love the art direction. I love the music. I loved every bit about it.
Yeah, she's amazing, isn't she? She's bringing something so necessary to women surfing. And I think what it might be is just a bit of chill. Like, I think Lisa Anderson and Steph Gilmore had it too, but they were also on this sort of, like, their generation was riding that wave of, you know, the industry just lifting. Like, Lisa kind of created that first boom on the back of Roxy. Steph rode the glory years of women's surfing being sort of accepted and then moving into to what it's become today. Now, we've reached a place where you're allowed to be a bit cynical. You don't just have to be like fucking, oh man, we got to take every opportunity by the scruff of the neck because we're fighting our fucking tooth and nail just to get some respect, just to earn a couple of dollars. And I think that she just surfs with this beautiful sort of chilled out reaction to what's in front of her. Like, if you look at Erin and Molly, right, their intent and what they want to do is all telegraphed. Like, you can see how they surf. Like, you can see what's coming with both of them. Like, they're so aggressive in the way that they want to attack waves, whereas Caity will happily stand there and just bide her time. And then once the wave throws something at her, that's when she springs into action, man. And she can accelerate on the fucking, like, on a dime and then hit the section and add flair. Like, she's fully creative and imagining and making up shit as she goes. So just on a purely performance, like, level, on the back of winning the world title, to release this clip where there's just so much, like, happy down the line surfing going on. It's joyful, man. And then, yeah, sprinkle it with all that creativity that you spoke about. And you've got, like, the cultural fucking leader, not just the best surfer in the world, but the cultural sharp end of the wedge, just driving through and creating a whole new space for all these generations to come. Because, man, there's going to be a lot of women who, like, just like when young male surfers were coming through and they weren't going any good in comps. Like, where was the pathway before Aussie and Dion and that free surfing sort of creative sort of space was opened? And Caity's doing that. Jaleesa's doing it too in her way, but, you know, Caity's power is she's the world champ. So, fuck, it's cool to watch, man.
It's such a good call. Her competitive success, you know, it could have gone one or two ways. She could have gone down the corporate mainstream chute and started racking up big non-endemic sponsorships and become this kind of cheese ball, like Medina style.
Well, Erin is
talent.
a perfect example of that, man. Like, just basking in so much hype to be the greatest. All her sponsors, you know, are like backing that as well. Caity's, I reckon they're chalk and cheese. And the great thing is, Caity and Erin and Molly, chuck her in too, are going to be the great big rivals for the next 10 years if Caity stays interested in that world.
And she's doffing the gaff to the core.
She is, man.
She's keeping that counterculture, underground culture alive. And it's so baked into surfing. It should never be forgotten. And I think it often puts people at odds when we see these squeaky clean world champs and kind of competitive legends of the sport, because it doesn't necessarily represent the culture we know. But Caity's representing that culture, and full credit to her.
Full credit to her.
Well played.
And I don't know about this doffing the gaff business to people who aren't wearing gaffs anymore. I was really alarmed watching the pipe comp, just how few gaffs there were, mate. Everyone's on these new Oakley helmets. I don't know, Smiiiiiiiiiivlical. I don't know, man. I mean, they look a little bit sort of Tour de France Peloton vibes for my liking. Is that where we're going? Are we hitting in, you know, we've got the yellow jersey. We've got the road bike helmet now.
We've got those fucking idiots on the
What
beach
next?
ringing.
Boardy's going to turn into these like Lycra tidies where we're just watching Matt Shervington's bits fly all over the place.
Yeah, and we've got those idiots on the beach ringing cowbells, making racket during heats.
Yeah.
Pretty much is the Tour de France.
Oh,
the only
dear.
thing's missing is a good old vial of peptides and TRT and
don't.
Decker and HRH and I don't know what other
Well,
performance.
are we missing those?
Yeah,
though?
I don't know.
Are we?
Fuck. I don't know if Caity's been jabbing her Bertuzzi with a couple of fat syringes for taking on the world's best at trestles, but
Anyway.
she's getting away with it. More well played.
Well, Gath, you're welcome. You're welcome to jump on the Swellian bandwagon. We back, Gath.
we do.
I want to party. I want to party tonight. Your moves are so raw, and your body's so tight. I can only dream of.
Vaughn, it's time for another installment of Degenerate Surf History.
My favourite. We haven't been here for ages, Smiiiiiiiiiiivlical.
This time we revisit the top 5 fattest cunts to get pitted.
And by fat cunt, are we talking like obese cunt, or are we just talking dad bod cunt?
A mix of the two, let's say. Opening with William Cardoso, the panda, plenty of empanadas, beans, chicken and rice in that paunch. I think we can both agree. And
Salted meats.
oh, for sure, some, is it churrasco or
Yeah.
those big Brazilian barbecues, mate? This guy has sat his way through a 5-meat karma oblivion. I always feel very uncomfortable at those Brazilian barbecues. I'm like, generally I'm a little bit squeamish about combining 2 different meats in any dish. It's just like, I don't know. I don't know why. I'm just like, the chicken and pork, chicken and beef, it just seems a little bit decadent for mine. There's got to be some bad karma, but mate, the Brazilian barbecue, absolutely no qualms.
Oh, mate, if you want to get the voodoo cranking, last time I went, I ate like 19 chicken hearts. Not obliviously. I didn't know what they were. I was just thinking, what is this? Yum. And the next thing, I'm just sitting there going,
Vitamin D levels off the charts. You would have pissed a hole in a water beaker after that.
God.
But, look, to be honest,
But can we confirm, is he the biggest body to win a CT?
since Mick Lowe, who in fact is the very next fat cunt to feature in this list. But yeah, William Cardoso, footage of him actually getting coned is pretty thin on the ground, but you'd have to think being a World Tour surfer, he has been barreled before, so he's making the list.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Number 4, Vaughn, as you alluded to, Lowy, who I think would have to be the fattest cunt to win a World Tour event.
Only in his time on tour. It's like I've seen him recently, looking fit. Looking
Really?
good. Yeah, looking real nice.
Is he looking like good as in he's on the way out with colorectal cancer?
No, he's just looking solid.
down.
Yeah, he's solid for it.
Goni Jenin good.
Yeah, Goni Jannon. But what I remember, mate, in his prime when the shirt came off, whoo, you've never seen a healthier set of memories on a World Tour surfer, women's tour included.
He was running a C cup at least, wasn't he?
Oh, mate, and he had that like epic kind of like pointy nipple thing going on, like a 70s Playboy model. Incredible stuff.
And, Australia's answer to Sean Briley in a lot of ways, who, don't want to spoil it, but does feature in this list as well. Didn't mind a snot block, didn't mind a pie and a dare iced coffee, wasn't afraid to wash it down with a cheeky cherry ripe, then snack on some gummy bears to get himself down the highway and finish the day with a Parmesan the size of your head and a quiet 6 schooners. The Australian classic diet. And not to mention
weight to good use.
Oh, I'll get to that,
right.
He's standard kind of run a quick ciggy and a slap on the pokes after his palmy and maybe last night's cold pizza in the fridge for dessert. And that weighty ballast, much like Sean Briley, as you mentioned, no doubt helped him huck himself over the ledge into the maws of some filthy pipe and South Coast slabs. I mean, we've mentioned the 10 at the Pipe Masters. I think in 95, a 1.5 reef Widowmaker.
Yeah, I back it. And no offshore wind was strong enough to stop the gravity. Was getting him down the face
off
of that
another one of his favourite dishes.
No offshore wind was strong enough. Gravity won the day with Lowy coming down the face of pipe, mate. No offshore strong enough could keep him from getting the glory.
It helps. When you've got the muscle memory and the skill and the understanding of how to put it under the ledge and knife it, like Lowy did, that physique, it fucking helps, man. You see it in the guys who are at the pointy end of the slab game. As soon as they get a whiff of being under the ledge, that weighty paunch, that ballast just sucks him into the vortex, sucks him into the trough. And
it does.
By the time they reach the bottom, all that forward momentum just springboards them off the bottom and warp speed through the cone.
A worthy number 4.
At number 3, Occy Vaughan. Remember when Occy was a proper fat cunt for a bit? He got on the Elvis Presley cocaine and cheeseburger diet and fucking blew out on his mum's couch there in Cornell. At what time he could have been the champion of the world, to quote Bob Dylan and the Reuben Hurricane Carter song.
Mate, cop this if you want to know just how big Occy was. This is the Surfing World edition. You can buy back issues on their website, surfingworld.com.au. But Shauno writes the profile in here on Ock, and no one actually knows just how Elvis blown out Ock got. Like, he was humongous, man. He weighed a lot, and he kind of, on the back of help from a few different people, Gordon Merchant, Jack McCoy, a couple of others, he got into sort of routines that sort of slowly pulled him out of that. But yeah, Occy, I think one of the main things that he talks about was just going for walks. That's what kept him just from tipping over into full-blown couch sloth.
Yeah, Jim Pellegrino country.
Where you're heading into just, you wash your back with a rag on a stick.
And look,
territory.
mate, he was fitting the bill at that point, living in Cornell across the road from an oil refinery. It is that kind of country where...
And a fried chicken shop just down the road.
Fried chicken shop just down the road. His neighbours were exactly that, cooking up meth in a bathtub and living in a caravan, washing themselves with a rag on a stick.
Yep.
It is that kind of country, Cornell. But as you mentioned, Vaughan, he crawled his way off the couch, evolution of man style, started walking. And then before long... was getting absolutely throated in the desert. And this is the mastery of Occy's comeback story, is that the cunt basically got coned from fat to thin. His literal way out of obesity was to park himself in the desert in front of a long roping left and trade one addiction for another, yet more proof. If the healing benefits of surfing, praise be, can I get an amen?
Oh, mate, I love it. Amen.
Be gone, watery demon.
And let's just doff the cap to the great man now, who is ripped out of his mind. He's ripped and ripping. How old is he now? 56.
Wow.
I'll double check that. Can we check that, Tart? But he's been Occy, just how old he is, and but he's been sober for going on 5, maybe even 8 years or something like that. Like a long, long time. He's 58, Smiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiii He's on the verge of obesity to where he's right now. You've got to doff the cap, mate. 59 this year, the Ock.
Holy shit.
Mate, you can turn your life around, can't you, Smiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiii
Degenerate fucking prison perineum stretches and get fit, get the coit fit. And moving on, Vaughan. Number 2.
Here we go.
Sean Briley, the Grand Poobah, the Jabba the Hutt, the Mondo Cone Wrangler extraordinaire. Not shy of a poke bowl, a can of Spam, some battery hand end and an acai bowl. And that was just the entree. What's for dinner?
Yeah.
This is a guy who has bit down on the fruit of life and let the juices drip down his chin. Nom, 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 nom. His waves at Pipeline fully stand up to Baron Mamiya's Doom Cone in the Pipe Pro. In fact, I think the last wave in this clip you'll be watching, if you're watching on YouTube, might even do Baron's wave.
It's a much longer pit, isn't it?
It is a much longer
It's a big
pit.
drainer.
And it is a very similar, like full Melanesian ritualistic face plant into the mud flats for improved yam yield. But unlike Barron, he gets some proper vision. Like Barron, he's all in and believes he can get the rail in on an 8 to 10 foot weightless face first knife into the trough. Sticks it, gets the most psychotic pipe chamber you've ever seen blown out after the spit. Probably the best pipe barrel of all time, or it's in that conversation. But the fucked up thing is, this is like 1995 or something. It's way back in the day, shot on grainy VHS. Has another inexplicable glitch cone from the Wakita Bowl, more of a second reef, 1.5 reef kind of deal in this same clip. And then dead set looks like a human lava lamp running up the beach afterwards. Jiggle tits galore. Incredible.
Yeah.
What a legend.
Yeah.
Riley.
So legendary. The big barn, packing it in the big cone. And, just the shit he pulled off when he was at his peak at pipe with the extra kgs he was carrying around is remarkable, man. He famously paddled out in a heat during the Pipe Masters that he was freaking on. There's heaps of dodging, pumping pipe, and he just goes, fuck this, paddles out into the comp, gets one through off second reef, gets drained through, and just there you go, that's how it's done. Really humiliated the poor old surfers who were in the heat. Can't remember who it was, but we could find out. But yeah, one of the great heavy men of surfing.
Yeah, and from memory, I think there might have been a What Youth interview. There's very little in terms of media on the man. He was, pretty misto and off in the background. But, yeah, there was a What Youth interview in their print magazine ages ago that I read where he mentions, believe he stepped back from surfing because he was worried he was going to kill himself.
Yeah,
he just
that's right.
didn't really have the impulse control and off switch, and got into monster truck driving instead.
Oh,
yeah,
of
well
course.
played.
Well, it's the obvious evolution for the
is.
big man.
A relaxing retirement in monster trucks and motocross.
That's it.
Yeah. Number 1, Vaughan, in the fattest cunts to ever get coned. Look, it's a no-brainer. Jimbo Pellegrino takes the cake. He has his cake, and he eats it too. Just a full-blown cake face right out of the top drawer of not just surfing, but sporting's all-time fattest cunts. There's an iconic photo of him getting pitted at Padang. He was
That's the top of the tree, mate.
Yeah,
That's it.
An established beacon of unwellness there on the Bukit Peninsula over the years, and a full underground, colourful character by all reports. Lived a life of hamad shenanigans and excess. May have been allegedly, very badly injured in a car crash in Kauai or somewhere. Might have even lost a limb or severely damaged a limb.
It's no good.
I hope he's all right out there. Big Jimbo Pellegrino, but mate, defies physics. I mean, if you sat Stephen Hawking's or Brett Weinstein or Albert Einstein in front of Pellegrino as he knife on at Padang, their fucking head would explode. Not be able to make sense
Physics
of that.
just out the window. It doesn't work. All you need is the grit and the ability to put the head down and get the arms turning. Pellegrino, that shot at Padang is one of the all-time classic surf shots. A worthy winner, mate. I don't think there's too many big man getting around like old Jimbo.
A few honourable mentions in the list for Jason Frederico, who, in all honesty...
I don't remember Jace being a big man.
Nah, he's big, but he's not fat. And, I probably shouldn't have even said that because he's one scary hombre. Hope he's doing all right and he's still sober off the fried rice. Well played. Peter McCabe went through a period there of... let's say Cooper's Red addiction and still packing it at Blacks and other slabs like a fucking heathen.
Yep.
Harry Bryant.
What? I just thought he was a big girthy Queenslander.
Yeah, look, he is. That's the kind of classic Queensland, East Coast Australian beer-toed physique of the Bo Emmerdons, the Mick Lows. And, mate, it hasn't hurt him at all. If anything, it's only added to his ability to knife slabs and not afraid of a snot block, an oak.
Well, he's one of the great
420 pie.
Yeah, he's one of the great snot block aficionados. He's always appearing on that snot block Instagram account where they talk about, the integrity of the pastries and the jiggle of the snot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a long way from that kind of Laird Hamilton matcha latte ripped out physique. That's for sure. Maybe even he's going to hate this, but Taj Burrow maybe even makes an honourable mention.
Hate that. He'll hate that. Oh, that's good, Smivvy.
We're going to get some hate mail for that one.
Oh, you're going there with that one, Run! Not going
Couldn't
there,
help
man.
myself. Conor O'Leary. I remember when he was a bit of a fat cunt for a bit there. He lost a good 5-10 kilos, trimmed down to a more fighting weight, and I think it's really helped him.
Yeah.
And Kong, Gary Elkinson.
He was big at the ATS World Live up the
Pretty
coast,
bloated
mate.
old Kong.
Jeez, he was big. He was. What was he wearing that night? It was a muscle tee because I don't think the tops of the shoulders could even fit into anything other than a
Those
freaking
real. Yeah, that's right.
a tarpaulin by that stage.
He had some real the custody biceps.
Yeah, and he was doing one-arm push-ups with his gaff on and his Oakley blades and
he
star trunks.
Mate, he tried to squeeze into those star trunks. He needed me and Vaughn on either side of a Jimmy bar to get him in there. They were groaning and wincing the polyester.
Yeah.
Strapped the gaff, and a mere schooner was not enough to satiate Kong at that point. He had to drink out of a jug and
whip backstage for a couple
a couple of nose powderings. And
Mate, you know what? We were dead set fearful for Kong that night. We were. He put on a show, but it was a scary show.
There's a few conversational non sequiturs in there. Hard to follow his line of thought.
How's this? 2 years later, I reckon. 2 years later, I bumped him in Newcastle. Unrecognisable.
You bumped him? I thought he was off the gear at that point.
No, he's fucking no. Well, don't know. Anyway, we bumped into him, and I was like, "Look at you!" He looked incredible, and we were pretty fucking lit up by that stage. So we actually took our shirts off and got a selfie together, flexing.
Have you got it?
Yeah. I'll whack it up somewhere.
Magic.
But yeah, he pulled himself out, and now he's kind of in the middle zone again. He's he's not unhealthy, but he's not, as ripped as he was. But I think he's living maybe in Lombok or something. He's kind of got a surf camp cranking. He's going good, Kong, mate. I'm so stoked. So stoked he's doing good. Fuck, his biography's good if you haven't had a read. Really good book. Yeah, check it out.
Good
Kong.
book. So cool.
It's good stuff. Oh, sorry, one other honourable mention. Junior Moepono, the great Hawaiian 90s big man, famous for fucking somehow squeezing his frame into those little Velziland cones. Such a good surfer, much loved character on the North Shore in that time. Real famous globally because he was one of the few proper big old school Hawaiians to be getting good surf shots. He ripped the bag, man. He
Magic.
ripped.
I'm going to nominate myself too. I went through a brief window of being a fat cunt there back early days working at Stab.
Yeah.
Tore my rotator cuff playing A-grade against the Wombats there, and was just on my under the desk Jaffle program, sitting in a desk, just pumping white bread, not moving around a bit. I remember my chick having a go at me for not having a six-pack anymore, and I kind of did blow out. It happens quick, mate. When you're not moving and you just stacking heaps of carbs and not using those carbs, fuck, mate, it's not hard to just
quick, man.
whack on a
I was
good
feeling it
5-10
after Chrissy,
kegs.
Smiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiil Jeff Fanning under the bus as well, post hamstring in that little period between the rehab beginning and the injury. Oh, mate. He's got dyed black hair. His skin is pasty white. He dead set looks like he could be living in, Jeff Hackman's little heroin den out the back of Kellett Street and across. It is a fucking bad look on old Fano. Luckily, the great Penrith, St. Mick of Penrith, pulled it out of the irons out of the fire, got it done.
And if we're going to tip...
And we're not fat shaming here, Smiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiilll
celebrate his fellow Coolie kid, alumni, Joel Porco Parkinson, post-Bolter. I mean, look, you can't really fault the man. You're confronted with your own personal brewery, all the taste testing. You've spent a decade plus as an elite surfer, winning World Tour events. That whippity 18-year-old that won J-Bay, a distant memory. And yeah, look, he did fucking pork barrel out a bit there, old Parko.
Yeah, he
and
did.
I think, the beauty of being in your 40s and 50s is that there's plenty of time to get on the paleo or keto diet and just easily shred yourself and find that extra wind, that second wind in life and do some of your best surfing.
Agree, mate. And just, can I leave you with this thought, Smiiiiiiiiiivlical? Go.
Is he on his way to being one of surfing's fattest cunts to get coned? Is that what you...
The dad bod is looking legit if you take a good close look at some of the pipe photos.
Where does the dad bod come from? Is it that he's suckling the protein-rich milk from Kalani's nipples? Is that what's going on? It's baby on one nipple, goat on the other suckling? You know he likes to get an edge over his competition. I wouldn't put it past him. He's at least tasted it. He's definitely sampled it.
We all go there.
We all
Everyone
go there.
goes there. What are you talking about? Of course you're on the
The problem is when you develop some kind of addiction.
Mate, it's like Mad Max Fury Road. You're basically just in a line going...
Maybe that's behind it. I guarantee if there's an edge to be found, for bone density, protein rich diet, a bit of extra longevity in the super sessions, the goat is on the end of that nipple.
If you can't get on the fresh gear, just get on the baby powder, mate.
Yeah, the Chinese shit's just as good. Tulsi watch fawn.
Oh, what do you got?
Mate.
What have you got?
Holy
the
fuck.
Shit's going fucking bizarre over
It's
there, bro.
fucking hamburglar over there in the States. And Tulsi has been on an absolute fucking tear during the Senate hearings that have opened up the Trump administration's tenure. So she's looking and staring down the barrel, I think, of a position as the national director.
No, it's all through.
It's through, yeah.
It's all done. RFK got through
yeah.
and Tulsi got
and
through, yeah.
They both got through on the...
They had to get the approval from those senators, right, to approve the administration that
and
Trump
so
set
they
up.
were fucking grilled.
Yeah.
And I watched these grillings in their entirety or in their long form way via the Jimmy Dore podcast, who is an iconic old school American comedian / journalist / truth teller in the mode and lineage of George Carlin, the absolutely iconic American comedian in the 90s, who at the end of his career just went on fucking endless rants that were sort of jokes because, like, the way we live is a fucking joke. Like, it's pure comedy. It's insulting to our intelligence. And so that's Jimmy Dore's go. And he's been covering the shit out of Tulsi and RFK for that matter. Go jump on there and have a listen or a watch on YouTube. But a few of the highlights. So Tulsi looking amazing, looking hot as shit, dude. In that, like, looking like a fucking X-Man with that white streak of hair that was put there due to stress during her deployments to the Middle East, where she was working as a medic. And she's fucking ripping into the Muay Thai, to the weights, to the fucking, like, hard out, like, combat training, like a fucking icon. She's polished the nose of those combat stilettos off and come in off the Roberto Carlos run-in to deliver the biggest kick up the coit to the war pigs in the CIA deep state. Mate, she has put her boot so far up the arse of the military industrial complex and intelligent community, her laces were coming out Uncle Sam's mouth. Specifically, she blew the lid on a CIA operation called Timber Sycamore, which is like all CIA operations, completely unmentioned in the corporate media. It's as though it didn't even exist, despite the fact it's been pumping weapons, money, and whatever other resources you can think of into Arab militants' hands, such as Al-Qaeda, such as ISIS, such as Al-Nusra, in a bid to topple the Assad regime in Syria, which they just did. She talks about the need of the American public to know that the US government is providing resources to their sworn enemies in the Middle East in the form of Al-Qaeda. She talks about the shock of learning this while stationed in the Middle East fighting that very same group. There's a very similar story in, what's that book by Krakauer on the most famous American enlistee from the Middle East. He was a pro NFL player. Can you Google that for us, Tani? Krakauer, I think it's called Where Men Win Glory. An amazing book of this iconic enlistee who quits this $1 million contract, jacked white dude, jarhead, goes and fights in there. But the cunt's a fucking autodidact. He's a learner, like Tulsi, like myself, like Russell Brand, like Rogan. And he goes on this reading binge. He's listening and reading Noam Chomsky. And he figures out that this guy's like special ops, Green Beret, fucking elite. And he figures out much of what Tulsi figured out, that like there's money changing hands, much what Assange figured out, much what Snowden and Ellsberg, the great whistleblowers, all figure out that there's money changing hands. Pat Tillman, thanks, mate. That go into the hands of these militants, and then Americans end up fighting these same people. They're fighting their own fucking weapons that were given to them. And then this guy gets killed, shot in the head in questionable circumstances that are never properly investigated because the military investigates itself. He gets fucking killed in a KIA debacle. And so Tulsi's been on this tear. She flat out refused to call out Edward Snowden, like the Democratic senator is demanding that she out Snowden, one of the greatest whistleblowers of all time. Is like a Russian asset. Snowden is currently living in Russia, in exile, still there because he blew the lid on the NSA's spying program, which was essentially the way in which they were reading Americans' text messages.
Yeah, that's right.
So basically the deal was, and this goes out to all Swellians in America and Australia who might be trying to get a hold of some psilocybin or some ketamine via text. Be careful, because your average text, I think, is weighted at about 2 kilobytes of memory. So they can just fucking endlessly store these things and then run like analytics or Google searches of keywords, and it's all ostensibly to catch terrorists who they're probably fucking funding anyway. The thing's that squirrely. So, mate, she's gone all in on the military-industrial complex, as promised. The crazy thing is she's getting grilled by Democratic senators who, a couple of years ago, she was on their side, on their team, probably mates with them, sitting alongside them. But, that's the beauty of truth tellers. They're agnostic. Mate, they don't care what team they fucking hit for.
It's so mad. Like, in these inquiries or whatever it was, like the approval process that they were sitting in, they're getting grilled. They're just getting outed with every answer. Like RFK was doing the same. Bernie Sanders has been this sort of hero to the left-leaning Americans, political
working class, and the socialists
and
like
RFK
myself.
Outs him as like taking big pharma political donations.
It was
and stuff.
unbelievable.
So like
$5 million, I think.
This is before these people have even done anything. This is just so that they can like prove that they're fit for the job. To these people, like, mate. Anyway, but fuck yeah, it's a fucking wild time over there, man. Like that sort of stuff on the positive. There's plenty of other stuff going on that seems fucking wild as shit.
Yeah, and look,
I just it's a hard thing to wrap your head around at the moment.
It is, and it's worth bringing that up quickly. What's going on in the Middle East, because we've had a couple of Swellians from Gaza reach out. Gazans who fucking, and I'm gonna flash up a link to their GoFundMes. They've just returned home to Gaza, and these guys are so core. They surf and they fish. They're fishermen. They've returned home. Their bones have been decimated by missiles. They've lost their livelihood. Their families are starving. And like,
the before and after photos are fucking wild from there at the moment. Like, just if you want to see the level of destruction, it's plain to see.
Mate, Ahmed Jabir is one of them. So you can find him on Instagram at a.jabr_7. And like, mate, you look at these guys surf, you look at the waves they've got there in Gaza, and it reminds me so much of Bondi. It's like kind of sectiony, short period marsh, but like playful and fun and probably like super consistent. And these guys are out there on Mini Mouse, like properly surfing, getting trim lines. Like, can you imagine the froth that these guys are feeling to be riding long fun, playful waves, given what their daily reality is and the buzz that these guys are getting, like proper core surfers. And it's one thing we have to keep in mind in the midst of this division and this war and these kind of corporate media narratives, that, like, at the end of the day, I can guarantee these cunts do not give a fuck about Hamas. They're not, like, out there to eradicate Jews and Israelis. Like, they're just people trying to fish and surf and live. And so it really concerns me when I see someone like Tulsi and RFK, for that matter, who are both pretty pro-Israel, or, like, I find it hard to be pro-Israel at this point, given that we're looking at a death toll of around about 400,000 people, and I just can't find any way to justify that kind of slaughter and the amount of innocent women and children and Swellians. Where's the Swellian solidarity, Tulsi? Like, this plan of moving the Gazans on and redeveloping fucking Gaza is insane, especially considering the fact that Israel, we know, funded Hamas because they were opposed to the two-state solution. They more than likely let down the fucking doors for a slaughter to occur in Israel to then justify them wiping Gaza out. I mean, we know that the people slaughtered in Gaza were in Kibbutz Be'eri, a kibbutz that was so dedicated to helping Palestinians that they'd raised hundreds of thousands of dollars to get Palestinians to Israeli hospitals who were in need of emergency care. The other people slaughtered in the attack were ravers and doofers. Again, another crew of people who were anti-war, anti-tyrants, probably almost certainly anti-Netanyahu, part of the tens or hundreds of thousands of protesters who were calling for his resignation prior to the outbreak of war on October 7th. So this thing fucking stinks to high hell. Netanyahu's achieved his aims, where he always wanted to prop up Hamas because they didn't want the two-state solution as he didn't, which is to say a separate Israel and Palestine. So that just gave him an excuse and his fucking goons to wipe the joint out with American weapons. And that's where we're at now. It's fucking awful. So I feel for the Swellians stuck there in a war zone, and pump some money into them. The GoFundMe, you can actually... So it's right here in front of me. So it's... I'll just read out the number. There's like a number code if you want to dial it down. It's GoFundMe. So it's gofund.me/F998F90 small d. Yeah, fuck, mate. It's fucking insane. Have a look at the photo of this poor cunt's fucking existence right now. The photos. Insane. It hits so hard when you see surfers struggling like this for some reason. I'm just like, this guy's so much like us.
Yeah, it's a fucking... Oh, brother, the world right now is in such a fucking state of flux, isn't it? And, like, I just keep coming back to, I mean, if you're in a position where you can help other people, fucking by all means, do it. But other than that, like, just to localize your own experience and just create as communal and, like, light, environmentally affected, just try and, like, get the basics of your own existence in place so that when you're helping other people, or if you're in the position to help other people, you can. But it does feel like, tapping into just all that turmoil and stuff can fucking send you into such a negative, cynical worldview.
But
and I don't know how helpful that can be.
It is. It's helpful because ultimately the truth sets you free.
I love the truth. I just wonder how, like, the best way, like, what's the best way?
Let me explain.
Yeah, go. Just explain it to me, because the way that I see it is the biggest changes I can make, other than just giving poor people money, which we know works, or giving people a leg up and being loud and proud, is by doing it in your community. Getting online and just fucking chirping away just doesn't fucking do anything.
That is not helpful. There's no form of online activity that's helpful in a situation like this. And the local community action is the best. And probably the best local community action is as a surf community to come together to raise funds and just give them straight to fucking Ahmed's GoFundMe. It's the only way you can help is money. It's always been like that. Give money to, like, as our Swellian spirit animal Rutger Bregman says, poverty is not a lack of cash. It's not a lack of character. It's a lack of cash.
That's it.
But how it helps watching what's going on. Like Ram Dass says this, back in the 60s and 70s, like they would do their meditations in the mornings and do their kind of spiritual lectures and talk about the Bhagavad, whatever it's called, Gita. And then they'd go to the civil rights marches in the Arvo.
Yeah.
Because you got to do both. And Tom Carroll, these guys are the same deal. And so the point is, like, by looking at what's really going on in the world, you're making any future decisions off that. You're basing your life off the truth of what's happening. And for me, watching what unfolded in the Middle East, I realized something very profound. I was in Indonesia at the time, and I was like, wow, like the same people bombing the fuck out of women and children, the same people burning kids alive in tents in refugee camps are the exact same people that run the housing market in my country, that run capitalism, that run petrochemical, pharmaceutical, prison, like all the pillars of capitalism are run by the same people doing that. So it's like, if that's what they're going to do to little brown Arab babies in tents in refugee camps, why would I think they're not going to do everything in their power to fuck me over in my home country? And the fact is they are. They're doing everything in their power to fuck me over, including filling our brains, our testicles, our thyroids with fucking microplastics, which is, funnily enough, the first topic of Over and Under.
Under or over?
So as alluded to, Vaughn, and so point being that by focusing on the truth, you make choices based off that truth that can only lead somewhere positive.
The engagement is 100%. I'm all about that. Like get the truth and do something with it.
It hurts.
It
hurts
does
to look
hurt.
at.
It's
But
uncomfortable. It makes people fucking furious.
There is no growth without struggle.
That's
so
it.
From that pain, the lotus grows out of the sludge, and you make these super positive decisions for yourself, your family, and your community, and those decisions push back on the nonsense.
That's it. No growth comes from a place of comfort either. So you've got to get uncomfortable. You've got to feel that real dis-ease inside you of like what's going on. And the only way to cure that dis-ease is to do something about it. Otherwise you get sick, bro. Anyway, speaking of getting sick, what's going on?
Yeah,
It's got a fucking teaspoon in my brain or something?
Yeah, you got a teaspoon of plastic in your brain.
Teaspoon?
7 grams, they're claiming.
The old McDonald's caramel chocolate sundae
It's
spoon,
just
that
sitting
little
in there.
plastic thing. Just
Somewhere
right there.
between your
I knew it.
calcified pineal and your rotted cerebellum is a plastic Macca's teaspoon. So, basically a study has found that the human body is widely contaminated by microplastics. This was reported by The Guardian. Microplastics have been found in blood, semen, breast milk, placentas, and bone marrow. The impact on human health is largely unknown, but it's been linked to strokes and heart attacks. The exponential rise in microplastic pollution over the past 50 years may be reflected in increasing contamination in human brains, according to this study. It found a rising trend in micro and nanoplastics in brain tissue from dozens of postmortems carried out between 1997 and 2024. The researchers also found the tiny particles in liver and kidney samples. The scientists found that the concentration of microplastics was about 6 times higher in brain samples from people who had dementia. However, the damage dementia causes in the brain would be expected to increase concentrations, the researchers said. So there's no causal link necessarily, but there could be. But there is a correlation. So microplastics are broken down from plastic waste and have polluted the entire planet from the summit of Mount Everest to the deepest oceans. People consume the tiny particles via food, water, and breathing them in. The most common plastic found was polyethylene, which is used in plastic bags and food and drink packaging. It made up of 70% of the total plastic on average. The particles in the brain were mostly nanoscale shards and flakes of plastic. The plastic concentrations in the organs were not influenced by the age of the person at death or the cause of death, their sex or ethnicity. So it's across the board. We're getting inundated with plastic. And plastic, people might not realize, it's basically the top layer. It's like the sludge of petrol.
Yeah.
So our bodies are getting filled up with this toxic, highly processed, carcinogenic sludge that's scooped off the layer by petrochemical petrol companies and then sold to us as packaging. All of our food. Like the idea that you can put fresh food
that lasts 3 days out in the wild on a stinking hot fucking Aussie summer.
and you can wrap that in petrol and think that it's not going to leach in is fucking insane. And yet...
And then that petrol wrapping, that wrapping lasts, what, for our lifetime at least?
Yep. And like it's in like all the water, the plastic water that we get. Like it's
Not to mention the little, the little plastic straws that people are just fucking hoovering their cocaine with on the weekends.
That's right.
That's going straight up into the main vein, mate. Don't worry about that.
That Trump just signed an executive order to bring back. Plastic is everywhere, and it is, for me, the most disgraceful and invasive of all the slaps in the face from capitalism.
Yeah.
That our bodies are being inundated with this toxin. It's and so meditate
20 to
on that.
500 years a piece of plastic lasts. Between 20 and 500 years. Mate, they're going to be pulling these little plastic spoons out of dead humans in 500 years, Smiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiii in their guts. Like, it's not just floating around in nanocubes. It's big chunks of the shit because they think it's krill and all that sort of thing. It just floats in the surf and they just swallow it.
But it's actually in them too, in the form of microplastics.
Oh, yeah.
So it's both.
Yeah.
And like that to me is like the real catalyst for change. It's the catalyst for me to go, nah, like, fuck you. Like, fuck you, you fucking grubs.
Yeah.
Like, and remove plastic in every conceivable form from my lifestyle. I'm already doing it with my food.
Yep.
Although I'm thinking about that now, I've got a fucking load of shit from the butcher that's wrapped in plastic. But get rid of it, man, and get rid of it from society. Fuck it off, man. Whatever it takes, whatever it takes at this point. My mate Elksy, the Scum Valley's finest, Dahui team rider from just 90s core lord. He made a great point to me. He fucking hates plastic more than anything. He lives there on the north side of Bali where so much of it rocks up, but. He said, like, it's not okay for corporations to create something and just go, here you go, world. You deal with it.
Yeah.
They put, and then blame Indonesians, for example, for not being able to deal with it. They don't have anywhere to put the plastic. But they didn't create the plastic. It's been given to them. They've just got nowhere to put it.
Yep.
Nor do we in the West, really.
Nah.
We're putting it in a hole. A lot of it's just going in the water. It's going into our food. It's a fucking disgrace, mate.
It's a fucking huge under, Smiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiii recyclable. Did you see that big stitch up where, when the company started using plastic bottles instead of glass and they were saying, it's 1,000 times better and more recyclable, and it turns out they weren't recyclable at all? Like all the soft drink companies that were using,
Nestle, like, mate, these oh my God. So,
under, mate. Huge under. I don't know how to get this Macca's spoon out of my brain, but fuck, if you're willing, I've got a bandsaw downstairs. Just fucking cut me open and dig it out, mate. Just don't dig it out with a plastic spoon if you don't mind.
I think it comes back to a lot of it's like just remove it from your food, your water, like all the shit that you eat. That's
just
the
grow
first
your
step.
own food, and then you don't need fucking plastic at all.
Yeah,
mate.
and it's fucking easy to grow your own food. Pumpkins, tomatoes, and rocket, mate, and eggs. You basically
The basics. Just get
that's
those
the
done.
basics. That's about all you can
Yeah.
fucking hope for. It's all you need. You live in large, and then trying to get fish that's not too rinsed in this shit. Fuck, hectic. Well, cocaine is no worse than whiskey. It's only illegal because it's made in Latin America. That is Gustavo Petro, a leftist former guerrilla group member who was previously called the US-led war on drugs a failure. And not just him. The great British journalist, author of Chasing the Scream,
Johan Hari.
Johan Hari's made the same point. Many of an academic and journalist has made this point. It's a fucking piss take because, mate, the elites, people have been doing it since day dot.
Actually, the biggest killer of the biggest killer in the cocaine wars is the land battles, the battles for the fucking prime areas where drug routes run through or where it's being grown and shipped. Like it's all the business side that kills people. The actual drug itself rarely has it's not as addictive as people think, and it's also not as fucking toxic as people think when it's pure.
Yeah.
When it's cut up with fucking billions and billions of fucking microplastics and you're probably just hoovering them all into this little teaspoon into your brain, you're fucked. You're gone.
Mate, it's been used.
It's getting mixed with all sorts of shit.
Totally. It's used as a
Chasing
pain
the Scream. You got to read it.
Yeah. It's been used as a pain reliever in hospitals. The cocoa leaf itself chewed on for its mildly stimulating effects and allowing people to probably build the fucking Incan and Mayan temples.
For sure. It was in Coca-Cola when it was first invented.
And it's in the nostrils of every fucking barrister and judge and politician that is behind the criminalising of it, including cops who I used to play rugby league with, and I've seen fucking smashing lines of Bolivia's finest. It's an absolute piss take. Just legalise it already, along with the various other compounds. Maybe draw the line at meth. But, yeah. It's
the funny thing is,
it's
though,
time.
the funny thing is, like, you say that, there are many legal forms of fucking methamphetamine or versions of it.
They give it to children in primary
fuck,
schools.
dude, ADHD medication is basically fucking methamphetamine.
Your local 7-year-old's probably on a version of methamphetamine because he didn't want to
The
pay.
world's on the glass, Smiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiii It's funny. Every single time the Woz throws down to someone getting interviewed after a heat, let's throw it down to Kelly Slater on the glass. I just fucking piss myself. I'm going, magic. Yeah,
it's a good point. Yeah,
but I mean, like, yeah. So, in regards to sort of like what creates these like insane death tolls, and don't get me wrong, fuck, drugs can, poorly handled and, depending on how you're using them, can be fucking devastating for families. We all know that.
Yeah.
And for people. But the majority of the issues just come from the fucking power struggles that exist because they're not decriminalised. Like, I mean, I don't know. I'm taking this from the research that I've done over the years looking into it. But it just does seem like you create a lot more problems with prohibition than you do solving them.
Well, it's a guarantee, and the proof's in the pudding, man. It's like the war on terror, the war on drugs. They're these existential threats that just enable the fucking Epstein Island reptiles to pump untold billions of dollars into their own coffers to fight some war that A, can never be won, and B, that they're literally enjoying the fruits of. It's a full-blown G-up. And the problems around drug consumption, it's all about the lack of cultural protocol, the lack of mentoring, and just like no real shamanistic approaches into how to consume these compounds in a way that are helpful. Funnily enough, I had a mate who was an old school fucking hard man, worked for some criminals in the zone where I'm from, and ended up with a raucous cocaine addiction because he basically had it on tap for free. Went through the rigors of, NA and all that, Narcotics Anonymous, come out the other side of it, and I bumped into him recently at a doof where Smiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiii and my mate's seen me there just fucking on the Murray Cod, like spread eagle straight next to the dance floor, and he's just let out a shrill no, man down, and rushed over to me and, plied my weekend at Bernie's corpse with a key load of Bolivian ether wash and put me straight back on my feet as lucid as ever.
Oh, yeah.
And, we're just talking politics, talking Jimmy Dore there on the side of the dance floor.
Yeah.
And to the point that the back of my throat and my tongue had like swollen up. It was plutonium grade shit.
Yeah.
And then I watched him, funnily enough, as soon as he feels the Moorishness craving, he hits himself with a little bit of ketamine as a disassociative to kind of get through that Moorish impulse that is the impulse that leads to addiction. And this guy's a seasoned meditator, seasoned hoffer, and he is my 5th Dan black belt Doof Warrior Shaman, a true guru who put me onto the Wim Hof protocol and showed me the way in life and continues to illuminate the path with his doof stick, as he was at this event. He even let me hold his doof stick for a while. It was amazing.
You've really elevated to a new place, Finn.
I have.
When you are in possession of the doof stick, it's just you, the shaman, Nicky Van Dyke. There's only a few of them who have held that.
Very few.
That totem.
That's right. I'm going to shout him out. Nameless, keep it nameless. But yeah, an absolute legend. It was so interesting. My point being that you can use these compounds to cancel each other out. When you're a 5th Dan black belt doofer and you know your way around microdosing the various compounds and you're getting the pure shit. It's there's a path there, and the path's actually fucking pretty well illuminated by doof sticks and pretty easy to navigate.
I'm
going over to Gustavo Petra, the socialist former
over.
FARC rebel.
Over.
Massive over. Decriminalised drugs already.
Over. Does John Flowers have Kelly Slade his foreskin in his knee? Does Gabby shave the bits of skin that none of us can see? If you drag your filthy corn home down to the face of the old man pipe, will sparks fly from it like a comet across the lonely night?
Swellians back. Put up a good shot, Smiiiiiiiiiivlical. Just a little shot of Leonardo Fioravanti.
Looking dapper with that Roman bugle poking out the front of a couple of Woody Allen goggles.
Yeah, God knows how many teaspoons are in his brain.
Plenty of K-Way he'd gone up there.
He's not happy. Malcontento.
Are you joking?
Is the caption there.
He's
but
ropeable.
I don't think he's not, well, he felt a little bit ripped by his last score in the pipe final. He made a little bit of noise. Not too much noise, but geez, the Italian surf fans have come out firing. All hands, blowing up the Lux.
They
but
love
as we
gesticulating.
discussed in Blitzed, they're off their heads, mate. It was a clear win for Mamiya.
Tweaking.
Mate, Keith Richard Vincent. And I don't know if this is Keith Richards, but I hope it is. He wants to know, will the goat be sponged and preened with a bath imagery? Nice play on words. Of wildcards. If it's that topic if it's that topic too deep, like the Mariana Trench. Sorry, mate, I butchered that, but what do you reckon? Are we going to see more goat wildies? I enjoyed it. Dad bod kind of throwing out his, we'll be able to get another one someday. Just like he's put it out there that he's interested. Surely he's going to go in his own comp at the pool. Nah, he's not. I just released the cards. I think it's Matthias Hurdy, Corley Vast.
Wow.
Freaking... can't remember the other ones. Oh, they just released it.
Wow, Matthias
Can you
Hurdy.
look at it? It's on the WSL Instagram there, Tony. Thanks, bro. But yeah, goat. Where do you want to see him? Like Chopes. Cloudbreak, he won't get a start, sadly.
Won't, yeah. I mean, fuck, maybe give him a heritage heat at Cloudy. Chopes has to. And it's an out and own comp, is it still?
WSL, Chopes. Chopes is out and own, was it?
Yeah, is it?
Oh, I don't know. But what would you think? What would you like to? Would you want to see more goat this year, or?
Yeah, mate, 100%. I love watching him. Like, who doesn't want to see the pointy end of longevity in the sport?
Yeah.
Like, it's as compelling a prospect as seeing the pointy end of high performance surfing. I mean, none of us are in our physical prime anymore. So now it really is a race against Father Time. So, mate, yeah, I want to see Goat surf as many real-time sessions
Same.
in ways of consequence or any kind of high-performance setting, really.
Well, if I think about it, like Goat's saying, I want to get on the slab tour with the Florences after one of those post-heat things, and that's a fair space for him to operate in. The days of like releasing a high-performance surf clip are probably over. Maybe a little bit more narrative filmmaking for him, like, you know, going on adventures and doing like a doco-style thing would be cool. But really, the place where you're living and breathing and enjoying him in the moment, the only place is in a CT heat. Like, that's it. Because the rest of it's just all going to come out after the fact. Yeah, I want to see more of it.
Mate, and just a quick note, it's worth going back and reliving that second last day of the pipe comp. I'm due for an encore screening of that.
Pretty pissed weak if you ask me.
Chris O'Pearce wants to know, Smiiiiiiiiiivlical, has Robbo's world title chances taken a huge hit with that early round loss? A lot of the pre-cut events, there's 7 of them this year, not 5, are generally where he doesn't do well, aside from Margie's. I don't see Robbo having any issues like getting past the cut. I don't even see him having an issue making the top 5 at all. He's too good.
He is so good. He's so versatile. He's still improving.
Yeah.
I think because, as we know, as athletes get older, it's the emotional maturity and mental side of things where most of the improvement gets done, and that's been his glitch. Right from the start when he almost fell straight off tour, just purely on the back of having the yips a bit. And then he kind of unlocks it in that Mexico event, and he's been on the even swings ever since. It just was that little bit of a hiccup at the start. And like his brand of surfing is so spontaneous and electric and jazzy and freeform that it can go a little bit haywire at times if he pulls the wrong trigger at the wrong time.
Yeah.
It's a brand of surfing that is just so explosive and radical that if you're mentally not in a good place, it can backfire. But I think when he puts it all together, he's going to be unstoppable. And I think that chapter of his career is still to come. And it could well be this year. We might see the best of him. He's got a child. He's leaning into the meditation and the mindfulness, as is Griffin Colapinto, Crosby Cole Smith. I saw him go to like a 2-week-long Joe Dispenza retreat in the off-season. So the mindfulness shit is kicking in hard at the elite level.
And he's traveling first class, and these events are back to back to back. Like, it is worth noting that the tour is like the F1 series now. Like, it is squashed so that we can get these 10 events out in this, like, this new thing called the season. The season is legitimately a season. It's a 4, 5, 6 month break. Not 6, probably 5. But September right through to like late Jan.
I love it.
September, it's fucking a lot of time off, dude. So the tour now is back to back to back. And do not mistake that traveling in fucking first class, or at least the recent photos I saw of him with Julia and little Zen. They were laid out. They were rocking back. It was probably business, but fucking whatever. If you're getting rest on those flights, man, you're hitting the ground running when you get to those events.
Huge.
Even with a bub. So no fear for the Vortex Shaman there.
It's a good call, though.
Busy.
It is a good shout, and there is a concern there, for sure.
Hey.
Jimmy Blair wants to know, why did those 2 judges score Leo less on his second wave compared to his first? It was clearly a better wave, as the other 3 professional judges acknowledged. Oh, so he's picked apart the 5 judges' scores here, and some of them must have gone lower than the first one. Mate, I think Smiiiiiiiiivlical actually addresses this in the Blitzed episode, which is live. I think it's just 1 or 2 eps back. It was more about just making sure the right guy won on the day. I don't think there was really any argument to be made other than Leo coming out and feeling like he had done it. Like, fucking watch the footage. Mamiya is screaming through the fucking best wave of that final. His backup is sick. Like, it really doesn't matter what you throw at those other scores.
Yeah, I saw Luca Messinas make an interesting point about the technical nature of a wave where you drop in, you stall and then you do have to pump and make that, and including both techniques, the stall to pump, as actually being higher in degree of difficulty than just racing through a tube.
I don't know, man.
It's not.
I don't fucking that thing that Barron's racing through, the water angle is psychotic. He's like properly airdropping over foam ball seggies and pulling up past these fucking deathly shandos. Man, it's not even. It's seriously, even watching it side by side. You know, someone's. I think there's a Instagram account, maybe an Italian guy called Romano or something. And he put them side by side, and he's just blowing up that, you know, the length of tube isn't rewarded. I'm like, fuck the length of tube, bro. You can hang in those things all day long. Bruce Irons was the master of it, you know, generating and controlling speed in the tube. If you're that good, you can do that. Yeah, no
That's
argument.
true. And you know, when you have the opportunity to stall at the start and get your feet and your body in a strong position, and you let the gas off, you can fucking rip through those things.
Yeah.
Like, technically, it's not as hard as knifing in under it and a bit behind it and having to just race. Like, the amount that can go wrong, especially when you consider you're going through serious turbulence and foam balls, you can disconnect, your feet can come off. Like, you got to be so compact and strong.
And put it this way, mate, like, you know, there's a reason why fucking people running their guts out or high-speed chases are fucking the highlight of action films. You're not sitting there watching someone navigate their way with tactics. You're looking like it's someone who is just going hell for leather. And the wave that springs to my mind of, like, that got me up and about, that's a perfect example of that, is that John one. Like, how often do we see him take off and fully cane it to try and make that the wave? Like, hardly ever, and to me, that's the fucking best tube riding you can watch.
Mate, I cannot believe people are blowing up that Barron Mamiya won this contest. Are you fucking kidding me, cunts? Are you off your head? If Leo Fioravanti wins a comp of that nature after the surfing Baron did in it, it's the world's biggest travesty. Just be happy that the right person was anointed the winner.
Pretty piss weak if you ask me, Smiiiiiiiiivlical.
You dog.
Donna at the sea. Good question here. Was there any more info regarding Tyler Wright on the wave pool and if she's attending? Last I heard, their rules around sexuality in the country made it dangerous for her to compete there, and I haven't heard any more about it since the schedule was released. This is probably like everyone's starting to. There was even a story in the Sydney Morning Herald about it. Like, is surfing just greenwashing? Sports washing. You know, the atrocities and the fucking human rights issues that go on in these countries. Like, they've brought that many fucking sporting events to that region, and it's a question worth asking for someone who does fully stand up for what they believe in. Last I checked, she's competing. Don't know if there's been any announcement about sort of her stance, but I'm sure that's going to be one of the questions asked by the world's media when she's there. You know, she is competing. Yeah.
Oh, dude. It's frick. That is such a tough one.
Isn't it?
But, you know, like, we are that kind of culture, you know, and that's credit to Martin Potter, Tom Carroll, Tom Curran, and Shane Horan, who made us that kind of culture.
Yeah.
In 1984, I think it was. TC giving up what was a very likely world title to boycott apartheid. Like, wrap your head around the fucking balls and the morals that took. So why can't it happen now? I mean, it probably should happen now. And she would be the person to do it. That said, like, I'm not disappointed that she isn't. I'm not putting pressure on her to do it. Like, take a pick. How many causes are there on earth that you can take a stand for, and how many contradictions are there in any kind of revenue stream that comes out of capitalism? Like, it's a fucking quagmire of morality.
And maybe, like, what if she wins? What if she gets over there and wins? And then she can use that platform to fucking really tee off.
That's a scary prospect.
Like, who's the athlete? Is it Jesse Owens who went to the Berlin Olympics? Like, while Hitler was fucking literally in charge of the country. I think there was a bunch of boycotts going on around that Olympics. And he goes over there and wins fucking everything. Like, everything. Right in the face of this motherfucker. Like, I don't know. There's an opportunity there to sort of make a grander statement by actually getting right in the face of it. I don't know. I definitely don't fear that Tyler, like, if she goes, she will do it with a rock solid rock solid agenda of what she's going
Can
for.
you imagine when she wins that comp and she just fucking gets in a Lambo, her and her fucking leso missus in G-bangers just doing fishtails and pashing each other around the streets of Abu Dhabi. Just going, come at me, cunts! What? Welcome to the liberal West, motherfuckers! Just a golden shower on some fucking sheik's headdress.
Oh, well,
Jeez, it'd be good.
it could happen, Smiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiii Nepalese and Bahrainian migrants who've had their passports stolen, the Sri Lankans and whoever else is. Let's stay on the pool quickly. This is from the Pridos. He wants to know, is Puckett Phil ready to dominate the pool in Abu Dhabi, or is it going to take too long to redeem his mojo? Many will have their survival or fantasy teams back and fill. Let's just do a real quick who's going to win Abu Dhabi event, because I reckon this is where I'm looking hard at Ethan Ewing. Like, that wave has a little bit more juice. He's been over there with, he's been over there with Joey Johns.
Oh, yeah, well,
there you go.
of course. You want a bit of grit.
Yeah, he's got that origin mentality,
Yeah.
fucking surfing with the great immortal from New South Wales. The dirty, filthy fucking Queenslander. Anyway, but Phil, I don't see any reason why Phil won't go fucking bananas over there.
Totally.
And Idolo looks massive on waves at the moment, man. His mojo is so piping hot.
Oh, isn't it? I
Uh,
wouldn't want to cop a blast to it.
Nah.
I feel sorry for the femme fatale who's playing goalkeeper to those hot loads right now, because that
Fully.
thing is dead set, flaming spunk.
yeah, who's your call? I'm going, okay, men's I'm going Ethan, and women's I'm going to go Erin, because she spent so much fucking time in pools. Feel
Good
like
shout.
she could just blast it.
In the men's, it is hard.
Mind you, I picked Ryan Callanan for pipe and fucking Aaron Brooks for pipe as well, and I ate that much shit, Smiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiiii
Brazilians, they are masters of the high performance, acrobatic variety of surfing. And you can see aerials featuring in those combos, which is a level of variety that Ewing doesn't really have.
He's got the tail flare board slide, though, which is
and
pretty
he can
bad.
punt, so maybe we'll see a little bit of that. It's in his arsenal. It's just not something he's really leaned on yet. But
And Griffin's the defending champ of pool surfing.
yeah, again, just an acrobatic, tail height wizard. I think the big names, all those guys are the clutch performers. There's a heavy mental game, the psychology of the wave pool, where it's just a free run at a wave. The machine cranks.
That's
Here
it.
comes this thing. No
That's it,
bobbles,
man.
no mistakes. But Matthias Hurdy, for mine, this guy is probably the most ripped off surfer in the world. He is fully in a conversation with Philippe Toledo in terms of his strike rate and his progressive arsenal. And I just think that he's going to be so out to prove a point, and it blows my mind that the world number one has to come up against him. Like, that is the worst deal ever. Like, it's just so fucking...
But it's not like that, eh? It's not heats. I think it's a leaderboard kind of situation. So it's
okay.
just like, go fucking
Course.
hard. You get your two waves, two lefts, two rights, or
course.
whatever it is.
Yeah, well, that makes a lot more sense.
And the seating, I guess, will only... I don't know how that's going to dictate. Look, I don't know anything about this format, to be honest with you, but I do have one prediction, and that's like 8 of the top 10 won't be on the top of the leaderboard by the end of the day. Like, it's going to be real tricky for the guys who don't look as big on a wave to fucking muscle up against those alphas. Anyway, who are your choices? Matthias and... You're going that solid. You're going to go right down for a rock-solid underdog.
Mate, he made the final of his one and only World Tour event at Mexico.
True.
I think he's that good. And, yeah, he's just stuck in the quagmire of the Challenger Series. But I just think, like, he's the kind of guy, having read interviews with him, like, the drive and the motivation. Like, this guy's traveling Brazil at the moment, competing in this kind of pirate, like, regional series for money. Like, he's fucking so hungry and he's so good. So I'd tip him to go deep and potentially win it. But yeah, I would think one of those real hi-fi exponents, Griff, Phil, Italo, would be my favourite. In the women's, yeah, similar tips. Like the real progressive surfers. I think this is a kind of wavescape that favours them. Brooksy, Simmersie-Brah, the Pickle, and let's go TW. I'd love to see her consolidate this opening victory.
Caity Fast and Bronson.
Holy
Matey.
shit.
That's the other one, Bronny, mate. But I still
Let's
reckon.
go, Bronson. World
I know.
Junior champ.
He could do
Lich.
95 fucking airs on every section that comes.
Hey, can you imagine? This is going to be fascinating to watch. When a wave is that ruler edge and mechanically groomed, what can he do? How many oops and air revs? Because we haven't seen him even given a canvas that is consistent. You know, he's doing this shit to like a 99.9%, a Bradman-style strike rate and average in completely raw and random Mother Nature.
It's wild, man.
They've selected well the was of their wild cards. They've added some great interest.
That's really good shit. And, I just wonder whether the plumes of spray are going to get rewarded in the same way as the aerial theatrics. It's going to be fun to watch. Smiiiiiiiiiivlical, T-Bone Collector. How about having 3 Changers tour events all in Hawaii? Haleiwa Sunset Pipe. Separate boys from the men and girls. Separate boys from the men and girls from the women. Yeah, good call. Wonder how different the CT would look. Bring back the Triple Crown. If I can do it. Make 2 of them Changers events. I'm happy with that.
Sick idea.
Fucking oath.
Love
Let's
that.
go. Matt Reynolds. Who's got the biggest snow sniffer? Parko or Leo?
Be good to see him go head to head. I reckon.
Who do
I reckon
you reckon
Leo
has
might.
the proboscis to end like this argument?
I reckon Leo might have it by nose.
Well said.
Get back on protection, you mate.
What else we got here? YOLO Bike Man wants to know, why isn't Barton Lynch back on the WSL Como team yet, mate?
Because he's a mad commo.
He's a mad Como. That's why.
Anti-jabbing commo. Well played.
Hey.
Trent Slatter photo, breakaway slab tour. It's happening.
Let's go.
I don't think it'll be in the format that you think. Like, it won't be a WSL with Rashies and Hooters. It's just going to be Nate, Ivan and John falling out of the sky, sitting on the tail and just enjoying the viz. Burton Surfboards. How do we keep the tour into Islands, brah, for at least another event? Plenty of quality waves. That's going to sort itself out eventually, you'd imagine.
I think
Like 2 Changers and a fucking CT is plenty, don't you reckon?
Yeah, I think that's enough. And I think they showed us the absolute pinnacle, the ultimate showpiece of what surfing can be and what it should be. It should be that. Like, if they want to make the most of the product and the personnel they've got, it's waves of truth.
Yeah.
It's just that simple. So like Bugs would have done, like as surfing evolves, like you meet that evolution with the appropriate waves. And he always did that. When you look at like from G-Land through the Barradilla cruise, like everything in between, like he was always putting the best surfers in the best waves. And now the best waves for those surfers are waves of serious consequence. And like it'll just smash the ratings, bring so much interest, and appease the core at the same time.
Totally, man.
Dog. Oh,
Love
sorry.
that. This is a good one. This is from Eyesore, mate. Is anyone else surprised the GOAT didn't call his son John just to get one more over John? I am surprised now that it's been said. You'd think he'd just go, fuck it, all right. You got 2, I'll just do 3. Bam. GOAT wins again.
I mean, what's the kid's middle name? Because that's probably what he's going to run.
Tao John Slater.
Of course. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Pretty pissed weak if you ask me.
Surf Dude, 9837. Maybe a DOF to a postcode. Don't know. Maybe it's his PIN number so he doesn't forget Smiiiiiiiiivlical. Speaking of those organised crime units. How are the Bra Boys still relevant? A bunch of washed up, grumpy, territorial blokes who got famous bullying kids out of the water in the thousands. How cringe are those 2035 tattoos? Surf Dude throwing shade at the Bra Boys, Smiiiiiiiivlical. How do you reckon that's going to pan out for him?
Yeah, he's on private. Well played. His Instagram handle. Yeah,
Oh, mate.
I don't know really what they got famous for. Because I was
Well,
there.
it's the movie.
I watched it unfold.
And
I
they
was
charged.
fucking dead set 3 headlands away. I was playing football in that tournament for Maroubra. Like, captaining that team, being from Bondi, like I fucking wore so much of that guff on the head. To be honest, like, they were famous. It was an exotic kind of story at the time. I don't know, like surf gang kind of shit. And Kobe was a fucking elite at that point too. He was like, it was the classic underdog rags to riches story. And then, as you mentioned, Vaughn, the film blows up, and then it's this exotic story. Like all these like A-list celebrities love carrying around this kind of lower class person like a Gucci handbag. It's the ultimate cool thing to bring to a bourgeois dinner party is some caged animal who's been raised in a public housing ghetto. So yeah, that's kind of what exploded it. It wasn't just on the back of like inner city localism. You could have found that at fucking any beach. And it wasn't on the back of Houso hoodlums beating the fuck out of each other and other people, because you could find that in any fucking postcode in inner city Sydney when I was growing up. Like the Bra Boys were just one little crew you had to worry about. Hillsdale, Matraville, East Lakes, Woolloomooloo, Redfern, fucking Glee. Like, it was, like, endless. There was dead set. Every postcode had its own little crew of fucking hoodlums who were likely to stab you or roll you with a screwdriver. It was my great fear as a teenager, was being stabbed. So, yeah, I don't know. I guess how are they still relevant? Man, I don't think they are in any real meaningful way. Like, we love Kobe on this program, but I think like it's all kind of gone to seed, that scene, because it was ultimately a scene that was built on a foundation of trauma and faulty coping mechanisms and drugs and dysfunction, machismo culture, like all of these things that seemed cool at the time. And like, you know, you could look at the same way with like the Wolfpack and the Irons brothers and like and Lucas Godfrey we were talking about at the top of the program. Myself, I'm totally cut from that cloth. And it's a lifestyle that will fucking end you. The universe will start feeding you thoughts in your mind to take yourself out.
Well, mate, if you want to tap into the Bra Boys themselves talking about it, just listen to there's a 2-part special you did with Kobe last year in Indo, 3-part special. There's one with Wayno that you did.
Richie Vikulik.
There's one with Richie Vikulik. We've had
Johnny Gannon.
And we'll get Johnny Gannon on again, I reckon, at some point, because I want to get him. I want to go into the weeds with him about this Goni Gannon challenge. There's plenty out there, mate. Even Johnny was just on the Mark Boris podcast the other day, you know, talking about these times and
we all disown
how they
it.
navigated it.
We all disown it. And the Bra Boys, like I said, they're no different from about 50 different crews that were in that zone, from the Cross, the Woolloomooloo to Lapa. Like, that was kind of my area growing up. And like, if those people aren't dead or in prison, like, you know, whether it's Kobe or fucking Spanian, like, or Tai Tuivasa, like, there's just so many characters who kind of achieved some fame, but not before almost dying, almost killing themselves, and then happen to find either God or spiritual practice and dig themselves out of this abyss of mental illness. So that's where that lifestyle ends. We know this. Don't fucking do it. We're all telling you the same thing.
Hey.
2 left, Smiiiiiiiiivlical. Rick Bone. Smiv and Deadly, quick one. What happens when the judges need to take a piss or drop the kids off during an event? Heats go back to back to back. There is no break. Is there a bucket in there or something? Don't know.
Colostomy bag, I believe. They've all got one. Set up on a little...
That's part of the deal, right? As
Yeah.
soon as you hit the big leagues, they just drill a little hole straight into the side of your belly, and your bowels just unload.
I've been in there during a heat at J-Bay. I've talked about this. I think it was in 2009, and it fucking reeked in there.
Mate.
And it wasn't just Pritamo's fucking mung bean sannyasin breath, that diet that he's on. It was like, there was mung bean fucking colostomy bags all over the joint. There was a whole bin just overflowing with colostomy bags, flies buzzing around it. It was a disgrace.
Mate, I'll never forget at the Coke Classic one year, back when it was just scaffolds and, you know, loudspeaker and no internet or anything, one of the commentators was just pissing in a bottle. Those, you know, he'd drink one bottle and then just fill it straight back up again. And by the time it got to the semi-finals, this is at the Coke Classic, the biggest, richest surf comp in the world. he had this like trophy cabinet of piss bottles along the entire edge of the scaffold in plain sight of all the spectators. And Mick Mock comes down and just he was our contest director, the great, fucking surf historian / collector / fucking just all-time lord dog. And he comes down and he goes, "Whose things are these? Whose disgusting things?" And the poor bloke had to fucking pick them all up and carry them over to a bucket. Oh, it was disgusting. But anyway, that was the old school way from the glory days of the 90s.
Yeah, core. Keep it core. Keep pissing in bottles.
And this is the last one. This is from Galvo.
Hope you get the lot, you dog.
Might be a little anecdote to sign us off today, Smiiiiiiiiiiivlical. Not really a question, but back in the day, there was a Tracks article around 1995, I'd say, still in newspaper print, and it was about a guy who went to a Pennywise concert, met a chick, hit it bareback, and then went to Bali the next day. He said he got a little pimple on his schlong that then turned into something way worse. There was an accompanying pic of the mutilated penis, and that article scared the fuck out of me as a 15-year-old, and I seriously tapped up my whole life because of it. So I'd just like to say thanks to whoever wrote that, because I reckon it could have saved me a few trips to the clinic and maybe a few child support payments as well.
Well played. Talk about shamans, mentoring. Mate, I tell ya, Tracks magazine during the Doherty tenure and predating it during the Ridgeway and Rinsed Corn tenures. It was an absolute bastion of worldly sage advice and the kind of sexual education that sadly is lacking from our public school situation where, generally you're getting taught how to get gender reassignment surgery, shoot ping pongs out of your newly minted vagina. Just stuff that's not that relevant.
The only thing teenage boys wanted to know about when I was a kid was like, when are they getting hair on their cock? Or on their balls. I mean, aside from Wade Carmichael, every other kid was going, when am I getting hair on my cock? But no, mate, I reckon, that's all you cared about is when are my balls going to drop? What are these weird hard bits in my nipples? Just weird shit. Like, where do you go if you're not writing a Dolly Doctor or Dr. Bob or whatever his name was in Tracks? Don't know, mate.
Lost soul, mate.
Anyway, Tracks on the way.
Covered in genital warts.
Tracks is back, mate. They're doing a great job out there.
They are.
Talk soon.
See you, mate.